Bonjour, les amis. Welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. That was French that I attempted to speak at the beginning, right there for the intro. If I butcher that, I am so sorry, my French brethren, but I'm trying this new thing where I try to do introductions in different languages because I think it's fun, so I'm going to continue doing it. Come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can check out some interesting articles, like one of my favorites called The Lone Zebra and the Bohemian Bee, an ode to the individual. And another article which I really loved writing and was kind of like a little fun one for me, Marijuana, Whiskey, and an episode of Westworld, an epiphany on God and consciousness. Those are two of my favorite articles I've written. So you can check out on the website, ataboolife.com, where it's all free. And there's other interesting content on there. Of course, there's other episodes of the podcast, which is thankfully growing, so I'm really happy about that. There is also books on there for free. Articles, short stories, poems, because I am that sappy. But check it out, ataboolife.com. Today's guest is Mr. George Ward. This was a really interesting way how we met. His fiance randomly emailed me on Friday and asked if I want to do an episode on him. He has a really unique life. He's a fireman. He was a fireman. He still works on the board voluntarily. He's an artist. He does random drawings and also was in the news for the construction of his son's bed, which he made into a legit fire truck bed. Like, not one of those plastic ones. Like a real legit bed. And it's been in the news for it. And also, he is a treasure hunter. Listen to the episode. It's great. He's really interesting. I'm really happy that his fiance, Rachel, very lovely woman. I'm really happy they reached out to me and did the episode. He was fun to interview. He was great to interview. All the good stuff. Check it out, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, guys, we're live. We were just laughing about my mouth stretching exercises.
You angry about it? You're just throwing stuff everywhere?
No, I dropped the clipboard with some questions on it. So, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, I'm George Ward. With your podcast, you got people can give kind of a description of themselves.
Yeah,
right? They're transgender or swingers or whatever. I've got way too many of those. Let's see. My name's George Ward. I'm a firefighter. I do community service for a lot of different things. I'm an artist, a maker, and I'm a treasure hunter. Always so weird to say that. It sounds nerdy. Like, I'm a treasure hunter, dude.
Jack of all trades with certain unique trades.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's start with the first one, firefighting.
Okay.
How'd you get into that?
My parents were firefighters. All growing up, we started in St. Augustine, the St. Augustine Shores. There were volunteers with the St. Augustine Shore Volunteer Fire Department back before St. Augustine was all paid. We lived on the beach in Volano, and there was a boat wreck. A couple of people died, and the fire department was down there. And it was literally in our backyard. So my parents walked down there to, kind of see what was going on. They met all the firefighters, found out there was a volunteer station, and they just kind of went and joined. That was like 1994, 95, and kind of been in it since then. My mom just retired. She ended up being the fire coordinator for Putnam County. So,
no shit.
Yeah. So I was a junior firefighter in St. Augustine in 2 different stations. Then I quit for a couple of years. I had to move to South Carolina. Came back here, joined. We've been members of like 4 different stations. sit on the board of 4 different stations. That's what I mainly do now. I'm getting a little too old to go into burning buildings. So now I just sit on boards. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
Oh, just to let you guys know that George's wife, Rachel's here. That's why he will look over, or you can't see him, but he said we.
Yeah, we.
I
have to have approval sometimes, so I look over to make sure everything's okay.
Okay, so you're a volunteer firefighter, or you're actually...
I'm a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
I volunteer with a lot of stations, even though we get paid for a lot of the stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. And then I sit on boards. The boards are completely voluntary. You don't get paid for that.
Okay. Because I remember when I was a cop, and we always had like the full-time firefighters. How does one become a volunteer firefighter? Because I always thought that was interesting.
Really? Did you just fill out a piece of paper?
Really? There's no training?
Yeah. To become a volunteer firefighter, you just fill out a piece of paper. But then your dedication is sort of measured by how much time and effort and training you put in. Mm-hmm. So when I first started, I was just a junior. I rolled hose, basically.
Okay.
And I helped with, whatever the station needed. You couldn't really go into fires or whatever. Went through Fire 1, Fire 2, EMT school. I'm an EMT. Hazmat evac. I've got so many certificates, I can't even count them. So just over the years, you build up training, and that shows your dedication. And generally, what happens is once you get to a certain point in your training, you just go paid.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you just join a station, and I was at a point where I was going to do that and just join a station and just make that my career. Generally, you have to be Fire 1, Fire 2, which is all of your fire training for buildings or whatever. And you have to be at least an EMT to join a paid station. I was going to do that, and then I just sort of, I don't know, I had some bad calls happen all at once.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was just like, maybe I'll take a break. And since then, I've just kind of...
What were those bad calls?
Wow. That's a question you don't generally get asked very often. One was a kid. They all really involve kids. And I'm a dad, so I think that affects me more. There's a boat ramp in Palatka called, I think it's Pope boat ramp. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There was this guy out fishing with his family, and he had an old Ford Bronco, just to give you an idea of the kind of car we're working on, that was towing his boat. And he pulled his boat up to the boat ramp, got out, backed his car up to put the trailer in the water. Mm-hmm. Once he did that, he got back out and got into his boat to pull the boat up on the trailer. Something happened. He had his kid was buckled into the back seat, and he had a dog with him. And somehow the dog put the truck in neutral, and the trailer and the truck rolled down into the boat ramp very, very slowly with the windows rolled up. And it got to a point, I don't know how much you know about cars in water, but once a car's door hits water, you can't open it because you're opening
the pressure, right?
Yeah, you're opening against the force of the water. So what happened was you have to let that equal out, right? You have to let the water inside the car rise to the level of the water on the outside of the car. But the car was at an angle, right? It was pointing with the back of the truck down. So the car rolled in, and this dad's sitting there. He's trying to open his door, and he can't. And the water finally equalizes, but it's higher in the back of the truck where his kid's strapped in than it is in the front. So by the time we got there, the kid had drowned. We had to pull the kid out. I actually it was horrible. I had to pull, we got a chain and hooked it to the back of the truck, pulled the truck out of the water. And then, it's so hard to just kind of, you pull this kid out of the back of the truck, there's nothing you can do. The kid's been sitting there for, underwater for a while now. Waiting on the ambulance to get there, and his dad's just, in tears. You got to reassure him, but, there's nothing that can be done. It's just, it kills you on the inside. And then the second one, was actually near my house. It was probably only 2 months later. It was this 5-year-old kid who's, I don't know if it was his stepdad or if it was just his, his mom's boyfriend had just beaten him senseless for no reason.
Oh, man.
And I was holding this kid in my arms. Again, waiting on the ambulance to show up. They're always too late. And the kid just kept telling me he was sorry. Like, he was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. And the kid had nothing to be sorry about, you know.
Oh, man.
But that kid, he ended up dying as well. So you get stuff like that, and it just gets in your head. And it's weird because you would think people who work in that kind of field have access to sort of mental health. Well, I mean, it's gotten a little better. But it's a culture where you're weak if you ask for it. I mean, you were law enforcement.
I think it depends on what department or even what city you're with, because sometimes, like, it's true. Sometimes you do look like you're weak, but there's a couple of cops or detectives and lieutenants who I really did admire. They flat out made like, I had to go see a therapist. Like, I helped out.
It happens, especially with new guys. It's just there's this perception where you have to be a true, I don't want to say it like this, but you have to be a true man, you know, to do this. And men don't ask for help. So you just take all of this stuff and you bottle it up. I had a friend, I don't know if I should talk about this or not, but it's okay. Recently,
you could talk about it. Just try to be broad if your friend
No, it's not that.
Okay.
He wouldn't mind. His name's Austin. He was a firefighter for, I don't know, not long, 4 or 5 years. I watched this kid go through fire school. I was actually, I helped, I wasn't an instructor, but I helped out at the instruction of his fire school. I helped out when he went through EMT. I think I helped teach his wildland class. And recently he killed himself. Like, no reason. You know, it was, he was just sitting in his truck. He got in an argument with his girlfriend and blew his brains out. Like, that's just, and that's, God, we've been to so many funerals recently for firefighters like that. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that's what it just, these kind of calls started eating at me. And it was just like, I can't go down this path right now. I got to take a break.
And see, I sometimes forget, like, firefighters do go through that stress. Firefighters, obviously EMTs, police, even 911 dispatchers, they get PTSD too.
Oh yeah, they're crazy.
And like I said, I often overlook that, and I think most of the general public overlooks that too. If you're doing a civil service job like that, like, you are going to see. It's like that documentary. There's a good old, like, black and white documentary about police. I forgot the name of it, but there was an NYPD the sergeant, and they're interviewing him, and he's one of these old school hardcore sergeants. Not hardcore, but just blunt talk. Yeah. And he said, like, police work, and this could translate to firefighters or EMTs. You have front seats to the greatest show on earth, and it's both amazing and horrifying at the same time.
Yeah. I think what the community forgets, like, they look at firefighters and they think, oh, they get to play on the big trucks and they get to put, they get to put out fires. But what they forget is firefighters, cops, and a lot of times, especially dispatchers, they see the horrible things about this world, the horrible things that people can do to one another. And then that, they have to experience that most horrible thing you can imagine. Like, for instance, when somebody asks me what it's like to run a medical call or to be an EMT or whatever, I always say, imagine the most horrible thing you could imagine someone doing to someone else. Then imagine them doing it to a 3-year-old. Right? Yeah. And people in law enforcement, fire rescue, and dispatch, they have to experience these things. And then 10 minutes later, forget about it.
Go to another call.
Because you've got something else you have to deal with, right? So, and that's what makes it hard. It's these things build up and you don't have time, and maybe you don't have the resources, or the culture doesn't allow you to ask for help, and it just becomes overwhelming.
But I think the culture is getting better because obviously mental health is becoming more public. It's becoming more accepted. Like, hey, the strongest of us do have problems.
Yeah. I think I don't know what's causing that change, but it's apparent that it is. Like, it's much different now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I think especially the war and people being more aware of PTSD.
I think that's because of that too, because like, you can't, it's not like back in Vietnam where you could just shit on the veterans. Like, no, like, now we respect the veterans, and that's good and all, but we're also realizing that seeing this stuff and encountering these dangerous situations does take a toll on the mind.
Exactly.
Or even on the soul. Like, you are, I can't speak from a military standpoint. I could just only speak from a law enforcement experience. You see shit.
Yeah.
You see and deal with shit. Then you get shit on.
Yep.
So you see shit, you deal with the shit, then you get shit on, not only by the public, but the politics within the department, politics with the city, politics just in general.
Yeah. I got this great picture of me. I was riding in the front seat of an ambulance for some reason. I can't remember why. And we were stopped at a stoplight, and this dude in a car pulls up beside us and just gives us the finger. Like, dude, I'm sitting in an ambulance. You're giving us the finger. Like, I posted it on Facebook. Like, it was like, what, another positive accolade from the citizens of Putnam County.
Well, that's funny to me because, like, firefighters, even as a cop, everybody loves firefighters.
Yeah.
It's like, you never get spit on and everything, but if a cop shows on scene, you're like, oh, fuck you.
I don't know what it is,
It's happened to me multiple times.
I don't know what it is.
But you guys, as soon as a firefighter shows up, like, oh, hey, what's up? Cool, we here.
Yeah.
So, firefighting, EMT, what would you say was your worst call?
It's definitely one of those two.
One of those two?
I think the call the worst call that shaped me the most, though, I was like 10. It's like 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a tribute to the way my parents think about parenting or whatever. I used to go to this, I lived in St. Augustine, and I used to go to this, this religious school, and we didn't have buses, so my dad had to take me every morning. My dad was a volunteer firefighter, so on the way to school, we would go to this call, and it's at a very major intersection in St. Augustine. Dad used to go to calls no matter what. I was in the car, it doesn't matter, I'm going to go to the call. It was a vehicle versus a pedestrian, and this was like 90, I don't know, it was in the 90s. What it was this guy was walking across a 4-lane highway and got hit by a semi, right?
Ooh.
So they're sitting at the call for like an hour. I'm an hour late to school or whatever. I'm just wandering around. This was at a shopping center. It was the intersection next to a shopping center with a gas station. So I got out of the truck and I'm just wandering around. I see this hat on the side of the road. So I'm like, oh, cool, a hat on the side of the road. I go and pick it up. It's got half of this dude's skull in it. And I'm like 10 or whatever.
Oh my God.
Great parenting, Dad.
He's like, what the hell is this?
That's what turned me into a weirdo. Like, that's what messed up my mind.
Okay, what would you say is like the best call you went on?
Oh.
Because we all have those calls. Like, no, that was my favorite one.
Oh, dude. So I got the call I like. There's two calls I like the most. They're the funniest. The first one is if you think of a firefighter's perfect call, it was that. I got a call to get a cat out of a tree. So I got all bundled up in my gear. I took the truck out. I got a big ladder. I put it on the tree. I crawled up and I got this old lady's cat out of a tree. That was awesome. The second one was with another guy, the guy I was talking about earlier, Austin. We got a call that there was a bird in a tree, right?
Okay. There's a bird in the tree.
A lot of things involves trees. This was an African gray parrot, so it was a very expensive bird. They had put the cage outside and they had left the cage open or something. The bird had gotten out. And they wanted us to get this bird out of this tree. So we're like, okay, well, we'll do what we can. So we drove the truck over, and there's this bird sitting in the tree. It's like 40 feet in the air. We're like, what are we going to do with this? We don't have a 40-foot ladder to get this bird down. So we're sitting there yelling at the bird and making bird calls. He's got like 3 firefighters all decked out in gear going, caw, caw. And none of that worked, obviously. We were sitting there for like 45 minutes. The homeowner was like, will you spray it with water? So we're like, you really want us to do this to like your $1,000 bird? Like, yeah. So we got some hoses out. The water wouldn't reach. We tried with a deck gun. Mm-hmm. Nothing worked. We're like, we're going to kill this bird with water. But this lady's telling us we wanted to do it. It was the best write-up I had ever had for a call.
Yeah, right.
It was like responded to whatever address to get bird out of tree. Yelled at bird. That was fruitless. Attempts to spray bird with water. Also it was awesome. So those were probably my 2 best calls.
There's a bird in the tree.
Yeah, both involve animals, both involve trees.
The dispatcher's like, yeah. Go to this.
Yeah, they didn't even tell us really what it was. What was it? Citizens assist. Okay, we'll go assist a citizen.
Because I'm pretty sure if they broadcasted that, they were like, nobody's going to answer it.
Yeah. Oh no, everybody would go, what? A bird in a tree?
A bird in a tree. All right, so firefighter. Now, you do art. I remember when I read an email you were in the news for a custom built firefighter truck.
Yeah, so my son wants to grow up like his dad and be in the fire service, right? Mm-hmm. He loves the fire department. And I was thinking when I think he was 4 or 5, for Christmas, we had bought a house. You know, it wasn't a super great house, but he wasn't going to have his own room that, you know, was fully his. It wasn't an apartment. He could do whatever he wants to with it. So I thought, we needs a bed, or we could go and buy a bed, but that wouldn't be fun. Why don't we build him a bed? So I built a bed that looks like a fire truck, right? It's a double-decker bed, like a bunk bed, but one part's like a play area. The bottom part's a play area. The top part's what you sleep on. And when you go on the inside of the bed, you walk in and there's a steering wheel and there's a computer monitor where, you know, he can watch his cartoons. There's steps and it all lights up. I put it on Reddit. And got on the front page of Reddit. That was the second time I'd been front paged on Reddit. It got picked up by like Huffington Post and Good Morning America and all kinds of newspapers, and it put me in Parenting Magazine for like best fathers of 2000, whatever it was.
What?
Yeah.
So cool.
You put my picture above Jay-Z, right?
Jay-Z.
So when the magazine came out, I took a picture of that and I tweeted it to Jay-Z # who's on top now. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a response, but whatever, it's Jay-Z. He's like, I can't even respond to this guy. He's on top of me.
He's like, who's this cracker? Who's this cracker?
You got 99 problems, and this bed is one. So yeah, but it was cool. It kind of, I mean, he like now for the longest time he didn't understand that other kids didn't have fire truck beds. You know, so he was like, I want to go over to my friend Ben's house and we'll sleep in his fire truck bed. And you got to explain to him, nobody. Not everybody has them.
He's like, everyone has one.
Yeah, but it's cool. Fire departments sort of picked up on it, and inside of his bed, it wasn't here originally, but I had to build because people wanted to send him stuff, right? Firefighters, we trade patches. I don't know if police officers do.
Yeah.
We trade patches. Like I'll trade you the patch for my station. You give me the patch for your station. Well, a lot of fire departments wanted to send him patches, so we had to build like a little display inside of his bed for all the patches. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. I think the furthest one I got was like it was Puerto Rico or Brazil or something. But,
oh no shit!
Yeah,
wow,
there weren't a whole lot of them, but they were varied.
That's so cool though.
Yeah.
Like people were just sending that in.
Yeah.
Have you built any other beds? Like people called you or texted you?
No, a lot of people want to buy that bed. It's not for sale. But I've gotten offers from all over the country. People are just like, if you ever want to get rid of it, I'll buy it. We'll take it apart. We'll just whatever. But yeah, nobody's asked me to build them one. I don't think.
I think that's probably a good idea. Like if you get that exposure just for building that for your son.
Yeah. People told me like you should open a shop and just build fire truck beds. Like no, that thing was a pain to build. I only want to build it once.
That's why you up the price up. Like hey, there's a lot of labor.
Yeah. This is a $12,000 bed.
And this is a custom.
Give me $12,000, I'll build you a fire truck bed.
How old is your son? Because
he's 8 now. He's 8.
Man, imagine when he's like 15 or 16.
I know, right?
He brings a girl over. He's like, hey, check this out.
Some posts for Reddit were like, that's going to be a great hot boxing pad for when he starts smoking weed. It just goes underneath where everything's enclosed. He brings his girlfriend over. Let's make out in the fire truck bed.
Dude, she's going to remember that bed for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
It's like, hey.
Anyway, yeah, that's what that is. It's kind of cool. It got some exposure. It got him some exposure. It got him on, TV, and he likes looking at. We framed the parenting magazine. He likes checking it out. So.
What other art are you into? Because that took some talent to do.
Yeah, I mean, I draw a little. Generally, when it sucks for Rachel. She's my fiance. Mm-hmm. It sucks for her because. Generally, when I get in the mood to draw, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just can't sleep. So I'm sitting at my computer drawing for like 2 hours, and she's in bed alone. I tend to draw. Like I'll go on Reddit and I'll just find random pictures of people, and I'll just draw them, and I'll just post it with no words. Just here you go, and just to see what happens. So you get a lot of responses from that. There's this subreddit for people who just do their makeup. right? It's makeup addicts or something like that.
Like, what you mean, like for costumes or just
just
normal makeup?
Just
Normal?
girls who do their
Okay.
makeup. They do like tutorials and stuff, but they post really clear pictures of their faces, right? So I'll just troll that subreddit and I'll be like, I'm drawing you, and I'll draw it and just post it. Sometimes you get like, well, that's creepy comments, but normally it's everybody loves it. It's super awesome. Other than that, yeah, I drew the patch for my fire department. I designed that, so it's
Actually, you know what? I'm starting to put pictures up on
man,
the
take a picture
website,
of it.
so let me take a picture of this. But yeah, continue talking about this.
So I designed that. I think the first thing that I drew was for another fire department when I was like 12. We had a charity golf tournament, and I designed the logo and the hats for all that. It was awesome because I'd forgotten about that, and then I found one. My grandfather died. When he died, I cleaned out his house, and I found one of the hats that he had saved.
Aww.
Yeah, it was sweet. I was like, "Oh, you saved my hat." So yeah, that's what I do. I actually and I'll just pick random things and draw it. Sometimes I draw people from DeviantArt. Sometimes there's a store in the Avenue, Subculture. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't been to the Avenues in a long time.
Oh, okay. So what it is it's like it's
the
like
Avenues Mall, Jacksonville, Florida.
it's like alternative, like kind of pinup style, and that's the kind of style I draw. I draw like pinup.
I love, like, I have, after we're done the interview, my bedroom, I got this at a garage sale for a good deal. I have these pinup pictures. Like, they were, like, really well-framed in candy red picture frames.
Yeah.
But they're actually nice pinup girl drawings.
Oh, cool.
And I love, I know in the future when I get more tattoos or get the money for it, I want to get a pinup girl. Cause I just love that art, like the old World War II, that era.
Yeah, I would love to get a pinup girl tattoo, but it's so, like, if they mess up that face, even a little bit, it's so hard to draw pinup faces. But anyways, so Subculture, they do, like, they sell clothes for, pinup style or steampunk.
Oh, no, now you mention that, I remember walking past her.
Yeah. So I'm friends with them on Facebook, so sometimes their employees will post pictures like, we've got this new dress, and I'll draw that picture and just post it randomly.
Well, I might call them for an interview because that would probably be good.
Yeah, because they're pretty open about it, and I think there's a band. One of the employees in a band. What is the name of that band? It's like a goth band. I don't remember. The Crux Shadows. Mm-hmm. I think one of the employees is like a violinist for the Crux Shadows. But yeah, they're pretty open, cool people. I'm sure they'd do it.
Yeah, I'll try to contact them because that'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, somebody that just embraces the alternative sort of lifestyle. They do this weird, like, Japanese, or not Japanese. They do this weird vampire ball in Jacksonville.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get contact with them.
You have to get in touch with the Subculture crew.
And this time of year probably be a good time to do it because Halloween's coming around. It's like, yeah, let's do an episode for you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you do drawings, you build awesome fire beds.
Yeah.
Fire truck beds.
Yeah, I try anyway. I mean, that's not really the only thing I make. Like, I grew up, my grandfather was, he owned an amusement company that placed pool tables, jukeboxes, and arcade machines in bars and buildings and stuff. Yeah. So I sort of grew up around old electronics, right? And I learned how to, maintain them and work on them and fix them. Now I collect sort of vintage, obscure, weird video game and electronic stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I think growing up around it sort of helped with that. Like, I had an arcade machine in my bedroom growing up. It was crazy. I had Miss Pac-Man and a little cocktail table. It was great. Yeah. So, but yeah, so the bed's not the only thing I make. I make just all kinds of stuff. I'll just get something in my head and like, oh, I got to make this. Like, all the different parts of our house are just weird creative things that I've made. Like, I've got one entire wall in my kitchen that's got a table. Like, we have a small kitchen, so the table sort of is attached to the wall, but it folds down, and the wall's painted red.
Oh,
it's got
cool.
magnetic stuff everywhere, but the red wall is chalkboard paint, so you can just write all over. It's, I'll get a wild hair up my ass, and I'll just make something.
How good are you with lights and electronics, like for sounds and?
Pretty good. You need me to fix your lights?
No, I have a. I bought this and it cost me a lot of money. I have a Ghostbuster backpack because I always wanted one as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like a legit, like proper Halloween. last year I went out with my friends and we went to Jack's Beach to was it the Ritz or the Bricks? The Bricks. We went to the Bricks and some freaking drunk asshole kept trying to grab the proton gun from the backpack. I tell him, hey, stop touching. He broke it. I was able to glue it back together, but some of the lights and sounds don't work.
Yeah.
So
is it made out of particle board? Is it like a real actual, or is it cloth?
No, it's not cloth. It's like actual prop. It's a prop.
Funny, weird, random story for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my main job is I work for a playground company.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm a project manager, so I don't build the playgrounds. I tell other people to build them. We have a design department, and we have a girl in the design department who designs and builds for fun and profit proton packs, actual like made out of wood with the lights and sounds, and they're like $1,200. Was yours like $1,200?
I got it from California.
Oh, okay.
So it was from, I think it was $400, $500.
Yeah.
I was able to get on eBay for a good rate.
Oh.
So I got it.
So you bought it from eBay, but because she makes all of the she sells to the people who like rebuild Ecto ones and drive them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
future goal right
I'm
there.
wondering if you bought one of her earlier ones. But yeah, even if you didn't, maybe we can get it fixed for you.
Yeah, that would be great because I spent so much money. I love wearing that for Halloween, and I was so freaking angry. I came close to getting into a fight, and because actually we met two female sailors, they're Navy sailors or whatever. We were hanging out with them that night, and one of them held me back. The other one had like the old sailor mouth, like, "What the fuck were you doing?" She almost got a fight for me.
Could you imagine explaining that to the cops to show up? Like, why'd you get in a fight, sir? The drunk guy broke my proton pack.
Well, like I think if he grew up in the 80s and 90s and loved Bill Murray, they'll understand. Like, oh well, he's going to jail. But yeah,
cross the streams. You don't cross the streams.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Let me write a reminder about that. Because I really want to get that fixed.
Let me know and I'll ask. And afterwards, if you want, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll get out of the closet. All right. So you do all this fun and interesting art.
I try.
Now, what about the treasure hunting?
Okay, so
the treasure hunting.
A couple of years ago, I found this. I'm really active on Reddit. It's crazy. I just sit up at night and I read whatever on Reddit. Mm-hmm. And there was this thing. I love unsolved mysteries. Right? And there's a subreddit on Reddit called Unresolved Mysteries, which is like missing persons or, unsolved murders or whatever. And I'm looking through there and there's this puzzle. There's some guy in Austin had found a sheet of paper with a weird code on it, right? And they're asking everybody to solve this code. So I jumped down that rabbit hole. I was like, all right, I'm going to solve this code. And that turned into this series of puzzles that lasted like 2 or 3 years, right? They're pretty famous on Reddit in the puzzle community. They're called the numbers puzzles because these puzzles just pop up and there's a number attached to them. So you got like puzzle 1 and puzzle 1 lasts for 3 or 4 months, right? And then puzzle 2 pops up, but you don't ever know when the puzzles are going to pop up, right?
So this is like a random person that nobody knows.
Nobody knows who he is.
How do you know if it's the same person though?
He does things. You get there's a flow, right, to puzzles, and there's a sort of a pattern, and you figure out that it's the same person. Also, generally, he uses the same Reddit account.
Okay. So, makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
so they just randomly pop up. So I started doing those, and then I figured out who the guy was that was behind them.
Yeah.
Right. He screwed something up with a Twitter account, right, and I figured I doxed him. Basically. And I was like, I told him as soon as one of the puzzles was over, I was like, dude, if you ever want to do one in St. Augustine, let me know. Cause there's a lot of cool stuff in St. Augustine that we can sort of base a puzzle around. So we did that. We did a puzzle in St. Augustine, and then I was looking for new ideas to incorporate into the St. Augustine puzzle. Cause we do things like rebuses or ciphers. It's generally very, very difficult puzzles, right? I was looking through ideas and I found this other post about this treasure hunt that had been going on since the 80s. So what happened was in 1982, this guy named Byron Price, he was an editor and author, did a lot of like children's books and stuff. He put out this book about immigration, right? How different cultures sort of immigrated into America, how the Russians came, the Italians came, well, whatever. But he was a fantasy author, so instead of just using people, he used fairies, right? So, Russian fairies went to New York, and Italian fairies went here, and Spanish fairies went to blah, blah, blah. And sort of in the book, he said that these fairies they're very creative people, and they have these shiny gems, right? They're prized possessions. They have their prized possessions, and they're very creative people, and they write poems, and they paint paintings. And he included some of them in the book. He included 12 poems the fairies wrote, 12 paintings. People started to figure out if you matched one of the paintings or one of the poems, it would sort of build a treasure map of sorts, right? And if you follow this treasure map, it'll lead you to a 1 foot by 1 foot area somewhere in the country where if you dig down, there'll be a ceramic box buried in the ground with a key inside of it, a ceramic key. You could trade in this ceramic key for a gem, one of the fairies' gems. It was worth like $1,500 in 1985, right? So people started looking for them, and one was found in 1985, or 1980, I'm sorry, the book came out in 82, one was found in like 85 or 86. So one was found, so we know they're real. And then later on in like 2004 or whatever, another one was found. So far, 2 out of the 12 have been found. So I was like, this is super cool. Why doesn't anything like this happen around me? Like, I want to be involved in a treasure hunt, but they're always in like Oregon or whatever. One of the treasures is in St. Augustine.
Okay.
So I got super into it, right? For like a year and a half, I got just so it took up my entire life. It was crazy. Like 2:00 in the morning, I'd tap Rachel on the shoulder. I'd be like, I'm gonna go dig a hole in St. Augustine. She'd be like, oh, whatever.
Dig holes.
I'm so fucking over it now.
See, I can see you at night with a shovel on your back.
Dude, I've got a shovel.
Hey, honey. I gotta go.
I have a toolkit, man. I spend money on this. Like at first, what you want to do is you want to be able to find the treasure without digging a hole. So you get what's called a pokey stick. I don't know. They're called prods. I call them pokey sticks. They're just big, long metal poles that you stick in the ground until you find something like a rock. Like, this is solid. Let's dig it up and see what it is. I found so many rocks. It's fun. I went out and got a professional one with like a professional grade with a handle and stuff.
Oh.
I have like a whole series of shovels depending on where I'm going to go. I got like a shovel that looks like a big, huge Bowie knife so you can cut in the ground and dig out. I got one that I've actually painted "Your treasure is this way" with an arrow pointing down. I'm way too into this stuff. So, after I got into it for a couple of years, and there's sort of a community, around this treasure hunt. People have been working on it for 20 years or whatever, and they've made really no headway. I got into it, and then one of the guys that I met became friends, and we started this little group of people who kind of wanted to work together. And that sort of blossomed into a podcast. We do a podcast about it now. We got like, I don't know, 2,500, 3,000 listeners a month.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Expedition Unknown recently made a TV show about the treasure hunt, like one episode.
Yeah,
with
it is.
Josh Gates. Or a bunch of my friends were on it. It was really cool. But it's pulled in so many people. Like, there's been an influx of new people that want to get into the treasure hunt.
Well, I know a couple of years ago, and when I was a cop, I actually bumped into these people, like the whole GPS thing.
Yeah, like geocachers.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was until I was doing a foot patrol behind like just behind this neighborhood. And I saw these 2 random people behind these houses. Like, what are you guys doing here? And they were like, "Oh, we're doing geocaching." Like, they showed me the app. Like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah. But it turned out like that's across the U.S. And
yeah. So this one's cool. There's 12 treasures. There's one in Houston, St. Augustine, Charleston, Roanoke, North Carolina.
Ooh, Roanoke. Roanoke.
Where else? Cleveland, Chicago. Those 2 are found. New York, New Orleans, Montreal. There's one in Canada, and San Francisco. I don't know if I'm leaving any out, but I don't think I am. So that's where we've narrowed down the cities. That's where they are. And we've traveled to a bunch of those different places, just digging holes in the ground. Like, we went to New Orleans recently. That was super cool. We did a podcast episode there where we're like 80% sure we actually found the treasure there, but it's all broken up in its little tiny pieces. So, who really knows? But we spent a good bit of time there, met a lot of interesting people.
Especially New Orleans. I bet you Rachel over here was like, "Oh, you go do your treasure thing. I'm going to Go Bourbon Street.
Yeah. She got to see a couple of parades while we were recording the podcast. She's like she tells me that it's okay. Like, you can tell she's just like, whatever, do your treasure thing.
I will go drink. I'm going to get some hand grenades.
Yeah. But, you know, it let us meet some interesting people. We were wandering around. We went to Armstrong Park, which is dedicated
Louis
to Louis Armstrong. Yeah. You know, a funny story about Louis Armstrong. People never really know how to pronounce his name.
Really?
Yeah, so people think it's either Louis or it's Louis Armstrong, right? So there was an interview with Louis Armstrong, and I learned about this while I was in New Orleans. That's the only reason I bring it up. Someone asked him, "How do you pronounce your name? Is it Louis or is it Louis?" And he's like, "Well, it's Louis, but the white people call me Louis, and they pay my bills."
It's like, well, they're paid for.
So anyway, we go to Armstrong Park, which is dedicated to Louis Armstrong, and there's this dude just selling T-shirts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen the TV show Treme?
I know of it. I never saw it.
All right, so it's got the logo of Louis Armstrong Park is in the Treme. It's a district in New Orleans. So it's got the Treme logo on it, and Rachel loves Treme. Like, it's her favorite show. So I was like, well, we got to get you, one of these T-shirts with the Treme logo on it. So we went up and we were talking to this guy, and he's like, the proceeds benefit music classes for underprivileged youth. There's a lot of poverty in New Orleans, and this provides instruments and classes for kids or whatever. So we're like, cool, we'll buy a couple of T-shirts. We started talking to the guy, and we found out that, during Mardi Gras, I guess, the different districts in New Orleans, there's like the 9th Ward, the 8th Ward, the Treme, the Financial District, the French Quarter. They vote king and queens, right? And the king and queens ride on the floor.
I forgot about that.
So the dude that was selling T-shirts ended up being the king of Treme, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
So we're just sitting there talking to the king of Treme. He was also one of the founders of the Rebirth Brass Band, which is a really, really big brass band.
What's that?
New Orleans has brass bands, right? Like people that play tubas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that.
Okay, so it's like a big band, a jazz band. Mm-hmm. Rebirth Brass Band is probably one of the biggest in New Orleans, right? It's been around for years, and he was the founding tuba player, I want to say, because I know Rebirth Brass Band is known for having Rebirth written on a trumpet, and it's written with black electrical tape. It says Rebirth across the trumpet, and he was the one that put that there, from what he said. So anyway, we're talking to the king of Treme, and we talked for like, I don't know, a couple hours. He had this photo album where he was showing us, all these old jazz legends that he's hung out with and pictures of New Orleans in the 80s or whatever. And then he's finally decided that, he's done for the day. He's done selling his T-shirts. He's like, come on and walk with me down, walk me home. So we walked to his house, and he invited us to have red beans and rice with his mom.
Aw.
Like, yeah. So, and then we didn't do that. We left, and we passed, I forget which, it was another big, one of the Indian chiefs outside of a church. So do you know the Indian chiefs?
No.
Okay. So another thing about New Orleans is they have each quarter, or each district has a group of Indians, right?
No shit.
Yeah. So it's an all black thing. And what they're doing is they're celebrating, I don't know how the heritage of the American Indian relates to the black culture in New Orleans, but somehow it does. And they celebrate that by just building by hand these huge, gorgeous costumes with feathers and beads.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. They call it, is it peacocking or primping or something like that? And they walk through the streets of New Orleans. It's peacocking. They walk through the streets of New Orleans, and they have these battles, but they're not like, angry battles. It's who can be the prettiest. They call it pretty. Like, who can be the prettiest? And they do second lines, which is they just walk with a band, and they dance, and they interact with the public, and they have these contests. And it's just a really cool thing about New Orleans. So we met one of the Indian chiefs for, I want to say it was the 7th Ward, because we were in the 7th Ward at the time. But yeah, we met him, and like, I don't know, New Orleans is just such an amazing place. Like, everybody you walk past has a story, and everybody you walk past has something fun that you can do. It's great.
I know. I love, I've been to New Orleans, I think 3 times. One of them was me, because I went to college in Pensacola. So one time, me and my best friend went out there for a random drive. Then I went to New Orleans twice, and each time was a random decision, like that night.
Yeah.
So
that was our trip to New Orleans. I was on a message board. So there's message boards about this treasure hunt, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy, no one had ever really had. We all knew that there was a treasure in New Orleans, but nobody really knew where. Right? There was never really any good idea. So this one random guy who was new on a forum posted this really good idea. And he's like, but I'm 4 hours away. I can't go check it out. So I was like, well, I'm 6 hours away. I'll totally go check it out. I told Rachel, I left work that night, picked up Rachel, and I was like, we're going to go get some Cajun food. She's like, we're going to get Cajun food? Okay. I was like, yeah, are you hungry? We're going to eat Cajun food. She's like, yeah. She's like, where are we going to eat Cajun food? I was like, you'll see. And we're driving in the car, and like 3 hours later, she's like, where are we going? We're going to get Cajun food. I don't know what to tell you. We end up in New Orleans. So we're in New Orleans at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's hungry. We can't check into our hotel yet because I set the hotel check-in for the next day. Oh, yeah. And you can't check in until 11. So we're all sitting in New Orleans. Everybody is just angry because we've been in a car for 5 hours. Nobody's ate. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I'm just in a park digging a big hole.
You're digging a hole?
So yeah, I think that was, we went back a couple of times. The other time was a pretty, like, it had a little more plan to it. But yeah, we tend to do spur of the moment things like that. I think that's what makes for interesting stuff, right? Like everybody gets in their head, this is a cool idea, just a random thought. Like, this is a cool idea. And then generally they're just like, oh, whatever, maybe I'll do it one day. Mm-hmm. But if you get that idea and you just do it, like, that's where the best stories come from.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's what I try to do. Like, that's why when she sent you that email, she probably had a whole list of stuff that she could
I was like, this is nice. That was just like random email.
and that's where this comes from. I think it's just when you get the idea and you just do it. Like,
well, like one of the reasons why I do this podcast, because I strongly believe in people.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the worst, and also I believe in humanity. I believe in the potential of humanity, but also too, I think people just get stuck in a rut, or they kind of get stuck in this whole idea is like, hey, you have to have this 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And that's it. You need to buy a house, get married. But no, I want to find the people that living different lives and show like, hey, there's a lot of things you could do with your life. And you can live a good life and still be a happy person.
I mean, you work 40 hours a week, man. That leaves a whole lot of time to do what you're passionate about.
Yeah. And you shouldn't be afraid to take a risk.
And too. I think that's what stops people from doing it. People are just afraid of the unknown, right? Yeah. Like, what if I do this and it sucks?
Well, it was that and shame. It's like they're afraid, what are people going to think of me if I want to actually devote my life to art? Like, say, like, somebody has a hidden passion for, like, painting. Yeah. It's like, I love to paint like that. They don't tell people about it, but they go home after work, they look around, then they go in the garage and spend the whole night just painting on just one picture. Yeah. Whole hours on one picture. And they're afraid, like, okay, what happens if I can't?
Yeah, what if it sucks? What if people don't like it?
For what people don't like it, or what happens if I can't make a living off of it?
Yeah, yeah.
But then, like, that part of life is more satisfying than going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't be afraid of stuff like that, right? If it's your passion, if it's what you love, you can find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you don't make $1 bajillion, if you just find enough to survive and you're doing your passion, then, that's rewarding.
Well, this is how I feel about this podcast, because I had an idea to do this a couple of years ago, but the original idea was I was going to find married couples and get their story, how they met, like, really successful married couples. And,
that's hard to find.
Well, no, it's not that bad. There's some people I met, it's like, wow, you guys know how to make it work. But slowly the idea evolved throughout the years, especially with the police stuff, and me traveling, me working for Disney Cruise Line. Oh, I shouldn't say that name, but me working on a cruise line. I started meeting all these people from across the world, and throughout the travels, and like everyone has a good story to tell, and those stories should be told. But I've been really passionate about this. My hope is that, like I said earlier, that I could do this globally. Like, I want to actually travel the world and find people and record their story and like, all right, guys, this is live from Russia.
Yeah. See, now I just want to turn this around and just ask you a bunch of questions about working for a cruise. That sounds super cool. Like, I know, like,
this is a conversation. Wherever it goes, it goes.
As a person who takes a cruise, I imagine it's much cooler than it actually is, you know?
I'm like, what? Honestly, like, it didn't work for me because, one, I didn't like the politics involved. I just can't be around dirty politics.
Yeah.
Two, it's just I need my freedom because like you're working. Fortunately for me, I had a good contract where I worked 3 months on and 2 months off. Mm-hmm. Some employees or crew members work 5 months or 6 months on and 2 months off, which I thought it was ridiculous. Like, okay, basically for an entire year, they're on board a ship doing the same job every day, and you only give them 2 months off. I think there should be like a healthy ratio.
Yeah. I think that works for people overseas. Well, we took a cruise. We went on a couple of cruises. We took one to, I don't know, Curacao. Anyway, we had this awesome waiter. He was from India. His name was, it was something Patel. It was the name of the dude from, it was the same name as the character from The Big Bang Theory.
I don't watch that show.
Oh, okay, well, whatever. It was the same name.
People look at it.
I remember it was awesome because I did watch that show back then, but I can't remember the name of it now. And I thought it was super awesome that he was our waiter. And we were talking to him, and he was on like a year contract. He was there for a year, and then he was off for a couple of months. And he was like, I got 2 kids, my wife's at home, and he showed us pictures of his kids on this like old school flip phone, like Nokia thing, because that's really all he could afford on the salary that they paid. Apparently, they pay horrible salaries. And then he got in trouble for showing us pictures of his kids. Like, what?
Like the salary. One of the guys I supervised, he was the lead security guard on the ship, and I accidentally saw his paycheck for the year, like not his paycheck, but his W-4, I believe, or his tax form, and he's from Nepal. I'm like, this is, for the amount of time he's working, this is below minimum wage. Like, you're working for a year every day on a ship, working 70 to 80 hours a week, and he was only making $23,000 a year.
Yeah, and it's weird because these cruise ships they're registered in other countries other than America. Yeah. People don't know this. Countries where minimum wage isn't a thing, right? You can pay these people whatever you want. Yeah, like just like there was for the cruise line we can't mention. There was a girl that died on one of those ships. She was a worker. She was from America, and they got video of her. She was on the crew deck next to. There's a pool apparently. Mm-hmm. There's video of her just standing on the crew deck, and then she vanished. Nobody since then has been able to figure out where she is. And the party line from the cruise line is there was rough seas and she fell overboard, which is weird because in the video you can tell there are not rough seas, and the walls for her to fall overboard are like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it's a big mystery, like online. I was talking about unresolved mysteries earlier. This is one of them. People talk about it a lot. So the family was trying to get answers, and the hurdles they're having to jump is because the cruise ship isn't an American cruise ship. So American law enforcement has no jurisdiction. And it's in like it's a Norwegian cruise ship or Puerto Rico or somewhere like that where they don't care. Like an American died, they're not from that country. They don't care. So they're not going to help out. So that's like that cruise ship being registered in that country is a big hindrance. It's just weird, the kind of loopholes.
Yeah, there's some laws, like Florida has a law that Florida and I believe California had the same law, and they're trying to make this for any state that has coastal states for cruise lines. If something happens to an American, like if our American was a suspect or a victim, and they left from the United States or going to the United States, if I remember this law correct, if I might be getting it wrong, the police have jurisdiction. The United States has jurisdiction.
Yeah, but making another country follow that law, I don't know. I don't know how it would work. I'm not a lawyer. Well, I mean, it's a good start. It's a good idea. Yeah. It would save a lot of trouble.
But it was actually, I'm grateful for the experience itself. But for the long term, like if you have family, like a good example was one of these security guards I had. Like he was another lead, not the same guy I talked about earlier, but a different lead security guard. Really wonderful guy, really lovely guy. I love talking to him. The Nepalese too. And we were at dry dock, which was just a terrible time for me. I was had a really bad relationship with this woman, and my boss was shitty. It's like it was just a really rough time, and I was just stuck in this area doing this stupid like job. And we were talking, and he said something to me that really just hit home. Was that he said when he started this job, he did it for the money because he had family and he needed support them. And in Nepal, a lot of the jobs don't make a lot.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay well. He said even by our standards, their paychecks sucks, but by his standards back in Nepal, the currency exchange is really, really, really good. So he gets a lot of money when he goes back home. But he said that when he first started, he missed his son's first steps.
Oh, that sucks.
And when we were at the dry dock, he said, like, we were talking, he's like, just today I missed my son's first day of school. There's a big sacrifice for working that job, and people have different reasons why they're doing it. I did it because I needed a job, and two, it's like, I want to travel. I really want to explore and travel.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good way of doing it. But I wish, if anything comes from this, I wish they will pay workers or give them more time off, because that is a rough job, and I think they do get taken advantage of.
Yeah. And they're asked to perform weird, wild, like our the people that take care of our cabin were expected to remember our name, and call us by our name. Mm-hmm. Like, so the dude who changes my sheets expects to know that my name is George, right? But he takes care of like 40 cabins. He's supposed to know all of these people's names.
A whole row of cabins.
And even then, like, you're changing people every week. So you're supposed to learn another 40 names every week. And if you mess up, the consequences are apparently pretty severe. Like if you call me Ben and I report you, the consequences are pretty severe. Man,
sometimes it was so ridiculous, the complaints I went through.
Yeah.
I actually got in trouble. Well, thankfully nothing happened with it, but I threatened a guest. And this is, well, for the sake of the episode, we'll call this Smizney. This is on the Smizney cruise line. Smizney. You have to, the guest is always right. This motherfucker. We watched the video first, she was a crew member. I forgot what her exact job was, but she was in not the full costume, but she was in a pirate costume, I believe. She was like at the end of the line. She was just guiding guests through like the picture line.
Yeah,
to take pictures with the cast or with the characters. And this guy got upset for some reason. Oh, she was closing down the line because the time was up.
Yeah.
She closed down the line. The guy shows up late, gets upset, grabs her. And she complained about it, so we went to look at the cameras, and like, oh, he actually did do that. We brought him into one of the crew stairways, talked to him, and he got upset. And he tried to grab her, and again, I walked between them like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You touch her again, you're going to deal with me, and it's not going to be the best thing in the world to deal with me. And he made a complaint, but he was an asshole. I think that was a time where HR was like, okay, whatever. But there was one time I actually had to tell a guest, like, this guy was nasty. I believe he was from the Middle East. Not saying anything bad about Middle Eastern people. He was just from the Middle East. He has kids and family with him. When they were away, he tried. Okay, the first time he tried to hit, I think he tried to hit on a male housekeeper, and we didn't know what to do with that. Then he did it again, where he was watching porn in his underwear. He called the housekeeper and was like, "Here, bring me some water." He brings him water. He's watching porn in his underwear, like gay porn, and he asked the guy like, "Can you give me a massage?" And the guy's like walked out like, "Nope." He walked out, "Nope."
Give me some water. Now put the water on my dick.
Yeah, it was like something like that, and So we had to go talk to the guy, and we talked to him. Nothing happened. And Smizney was like all worried, and so the lead guys talked to him. I was still in training. Then I was on the night shift. So I was by myself, and the guy he did something else. So source side told us like, okay, let's put him in the cabin. We'll lock him in the cabin. Well, not lock him, but we'll put him in guard duty in the cabin by himself. So we pulled him to the side into a stairway. I called the second command of the ship down, because I usually do that. It's like, okay, if something bad's going down, I want the senior guy there just to see what's going on. So that way I could cover my ass. And we were telling him, like, hey, this is what you're doing. It's making the crew uncomfortable. It's disgusting. Because we were doing this, we'll have to put you in a cabin until we get to shore, until we figure out what to do with you. He got upset. It's like, I don't want to do it. You can't force me. I just told him, like, all right, man, this is how it's going to happen. Either you go upstairs willingly, or I'm going to drag you from here to the elevator, and we're going to take you to that room. It's your choice. Welcome to Disney. Welcome to Smizney. Welcome to Smizney.
I think, man, people, especially the people that I've dealt with on cruises, they know they're on vacation, but they forget, just because, like, the world doesn't revolve around you just because you're on vacation, you know? Like, there are other people who are working, who are trying to live their lives. There are other people on vacation, and everybody needs to have fun, not just you, right? So, and that causes, people forget that, and it causes them to be rude. They think, I paid $1,000 or what it would be on this ship. I should have everything that I want, and I should have it right now, and screw everybody else.
I couldn't believe, like, that those type of people on that ship. Like, I was a cop. I dealt with shitty people. Obviously, I was expecting it.
Yeah.
But then when I went on the cruise line, I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, I remember one guy walking up to me. There was a security problem. Like, well, good thing with Smizney that they're really good with like security for kids. They're all about like, okay, the kids need to be safe, so they're really good at that. So they have the security system where for the guest card, you need to tap out and tap off the ship. So that way we have an accurate count who's on the ship and who's off the ship. And if a kid tries to tap out and he's not with his parents, we can't let him go off the ship. So that's a good way to make sure no kids don't go out by themselves.
Yeah.
I guess there was a mistake in the system where the father tapped in first and he's bringing the kids off, or they weren't letting him tap off. So it's a simple mistake, and I wasn't there for this. He got upset, yelled at the security guards. Then I come up the gangway because we're at the island, and he walks off and had a nerve like walk face to face to me. He starts pointing on my chest like, I need you to fix this right now, and starts like jamming his finger in my chest. I'm like, you only think you're bigger than me because you're on the higher ground. Let's go on the let's go on the shoreline. So we got the shoreline, and when I actually got face to face with him, he calmed down. I'm like, all right, we'll fix this for you, sir, but you're not gonna put your finger in my chest again.
Yeah, that tends to happen. Like, especially like with me, I'm a big dude too, and like people are angry until I walk up. And
let's calm down.
They calm down a little bit. Yeah,
let's calm down a little bit.
Especially like, I guess I know how to look menacing.
Well, like on one of the episodes I did with my old cop buddy, we went to this call, and it was a domestic. So we walk inside, and basically the guy, I think he might have had some mental illness, but he got shot the week before, and so he still had the staples on his stomach from the surgery. So like he was upset. He was living with his aunt. He was upset. And the aunt's like, okay, I can't take him anymore. I need him out here.
Yeah.
So we tried to calm the people down. So my buddy, my friend, went to go talk to the guy, and I went to the other room with his aunt. Started talking to him. Like we came up with a solution. So I walked back into the room with the aunt. My buddy got him calm down. It was nice. He was talking. Then as soon as I walked in the room, he freaked out. He's like, oh my God. He's like, and like, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, dude, calm down. Nobody's going to jail. And he tried to attack me. I had to throw him against the couch, and we jumped on him, put him in handcuffs. We had to take him to the hospital because some of his staples came out.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I don't know. It's just people are weird.
People are weird. Yeah. I don't know. They forget that their actions affect other people.
Yeah, but like going back to the firefighting stuff or civil service stuff, like if you get a guy, you gotta get people like firefighters, cops, especially cops. You gotta give them a break if they curse you out by accident. It's like yeah, you're supposed to be professional, but like.
Yeah, I get it. Like I think you have to. What you have to realize, there's a lot of stuff with people who are now like, you know, all cops are assholes, or all cops are just shooting people, or whatever. All cops are on power trips. I think what people forget is because, like we were saying before, they deal with so many bad things. Like, you don't know what that cop was doing 10 minutes before he pulled you over. You know, you don't know what kind of mindset he's in, and yes, we expect people who work with the community to sort of be able to push that aside. But if you're, you know, if you go out to a car wreck where some drunk driver just killed a kid and you've just finished up with that, and 10 minutes later you've pulled over this old lady or this chick that's doing like 75 and a 45 and she's yelling at you, like, it's hard to retain that composure. It's hard to retain your composure when you've just had to deal with that.
Yeah.
And cops get, you know, they get shit for that when, you know, sometimes they shouldn't.
Yeah, and like, I think sometimes it should just be like not a slap on the wrist, but like, hey, we need to talk to you. We're going to give you a warning.
Yeah.
Like, let's go see a therapist. Nothing wrong with it. Just go see.
Yeah, I think a lot of these issues that happen, not with violence. With violence is when a cop is violent, that's a totally different story, right? But I think a lot of the times when a cop is just what would be considered rude, more than punishments, it's just teachable moments. It's like you need to have a conversation with somebody, figure out what's going on in your head, and figure out how to fix that.
Well, a good example that I had, I don't want to mention his name right now. I don't want to get him in trouble. He never got in trouble for this, which was good. He, the call before the incident, he went to this call where I think he saw a child dead, like he was killed, murdered. So he just came from that, and he went to a domestic call straight after that. So it was on his head. He has kids. That was on his mind. So he goes to a domestic call, and he found that the guy like was beating his son or something like that.
Yeah.
And he took the guy, threw him against the wall, and not choked him, but had him by the neck against the wall.
Yeah.
And fortunately, nothing bad came of that. There was a complaint. Did an investigation. They told him like, okay, you need to go talk to someone. But you get. It's just, I think, what's going on with the world, and I don't want to be one of those people that blames the media, but the media does have a big.
I mean, it does.
They do have a responsibility, and they do screw up most of the time.
Yeah, I think because the media presents
only like this. If it bleeds, it leads part.
Yeah.
Not the whole truth. Like, oh, you didn't show what happened 5 minutes before that.
Yeah. It's like, you shouldn't have been doing this, but the media shows what they shouldn't be doing, but it doesn't show really why, and it really can't. So I don't know. There's a little bit of blame to put on the media. There's a little bit of blame. They
can tell the whole story. Like, no, it's telling like, okay, this is the officer just came from a child homicide. And then he went to this call and slammed the guy.
Yeah,
that's 2 seconds right there.
Yeah,
they could quickly explain that.
I'll give you, but I mean, and there's sometimes that the media is just not wrong that people try to paint. Like there was that one where there was a video of a cop shooting a dude in the back as he was running away.
Yeah, that
one.
No
matter what that dude did, he was running away.
Yeah,
like you don't need to use deadly force.
Yeah, I completely agree with the verdict of that one because when I saw it, I was like,
yeah.
He grabbed the taser. Okay, he did grab the taser. We saw that, but he was running away. He didn't grab the gun. Like, if he was grabbed the gun, I kind of see it, but he grabbed the taser, he ran away. You should have tackled him.
Yeah. He
has back. The guy didn't look like he was in good shape.
Yeah.
Tackle him, give him good, ass kicking, and that's it. Let's give him a good ass kicking. And boys,
everybody can't be perfect, Everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes, like if you're a doctor or you're a cop or something, sometimes those mistakes have higher consequences than if you were a cook.
Yeah, of course.
But everybody makes mistakes,
and it's just sad. Like, you are a public servant, and it's just the public can be vicious. It can be very vicious, and it can be vicious without all the facts.
Yeah,
and that's sometimes. Yeah, the media does. There's a good part of media that the media or the news that actually are honorable. They are trying to get the truth out there, but then it's also like their bosses might have like a different agenda and present something else.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What books? Yeah, you bought some books.
Oh, so it's just the treasure book. I was just going to show you. I don't know if you want to look at it. The painting, just so you have an illustration of what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll show you the painting for St. Augustine. Like I said, there was a treasure in St. Augustine. Let me find it real quick. Oh, and I can totally send you a good picture of it. But that's actually the one on your left is St. Augustine. The one on your right is New Orleans. So you think you can figure out the treasure map in that?
Which one? Okay, this is New Orleans.
That's New Orleans.
Yeah.
The other is St. Augustine.
1929, 90. I'm going to assume those are years.
They're actually latitude and longitude coordinates.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Something with the moon. This is interesting.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you the poem too for St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So,
1 sec. Let me take a picture of that.
Oh yeah. No problem.
And put this up too, so people could see if they want to.
It's a cool thing. Like, people make fun of it until they like look at it, and then they're like, "Oh my god, I have to." Because the puzzle itself seems really simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a painting and it's a poem, and the poem, like, the verses, each line of the verse means something, right? So here's the you just looked at the one for St. Augustine. Here's the verse for St. Augustine, right? Let me see.
Say out loud.
So it's the verse is the first chapter, written in water, near men, with wind rose, behind bending branches and a green picket fence at the base of a tall tree, you can still hear the honking. Shell, limestone, silver salt, stars move by day, sails pass by night, even in darkness, like moonlight and teardrops over the tall grass, years pass, rain falls. Right? That's your treasure map, right? That's supposed to tell you where to go. Now, it doesn't make any sense just,
By
right
itself.
away. But if you like go to the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine, right when you walk through the entrance, the first thing you're going to see is the first chapter, right, of American history. But the first chapter, that's pretty much their motto. Everywhere at the Fountain of Youth is plastered the words, the first chapter. And back in 1982, if you were to go buy a ticket, you would have to walk into a ticket booth. You would walk past this huge mural of Florida, and right in the intercoastal, or not the intercoastal, I'm sorry, right in the Gulf of Mexico would be the first chapter of American history written in the water of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's the first hint. The first chapter written in water is right there, right? And you have to find out where each of these lines are taking you in this park. So, right, like, so you've got like with windrows. In the planetarium, there is an actual windrose, which is a nautical instrument. So what's another one? Stars move by day, sails pass by night.
That one caught my attention for some reason.
It's a planetarium, right? Stars move by day. But if you go into the planetarium in 1982, it's not there anymore. In the middle of the planetarium was a big ship's mast and ship sails. So stars move by day, sails pass by night, even in darkness. So you've got to figure out what each of these, and we know like it's at the Fountain of Youth somewhere, right? But nobody can figure out where. And it's been almost 40 years. Even the dude that owns the Fountain of Youth is into this. He's like, I got to find this thing. I want to find it now.
The guy who did this, he's still alive, right?
No, he's dead. He died in 2005.
Okay.
His name was Byron Price, like I said, and he was very active. Like, he would help people. Like, if you send him emails, he would send you back kind of hints.
Like a clue or something?
Yeah. But then he died, and his wife sold all the jewels. There is no treasure to be found. Like, if you find this ceramic box and the key, you can't trade it in for a gem anymore. There's no more gems that we know of.
Yeah.
So really, the solving the puzzle is the prize. Being able to figure it out.
The mystery.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
It really does remind me of that.
So these books were online for like $100 or whatever up until early this year when Expedition Unknown made an episode about it, and now they're like $400 or $500 online.
That's awesome.
This dude. What's awesome is this dude on the internet found these. Apparently, they made a Japanese version that no one knew about until like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
It's the complete book. It's a little bit smaller, but in the back of it, there are hints in the back.
With maps.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a paperback book, but it's got a dust cover. I've never seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Do that with comic books.
They figured that because the words in the puzzle were super important, they wanted to translate them correctly. Mm-hmm. So the translator called the original author and got hints for what each word means. So now it's been like 2 weeks. We found out that there's hints to this treasure hunt, and everybody's going nuts.
Because this is written in Japanese, right?
Yeah.
This is written in Japanese, and I'm looking in the back of the index area, and you can see the Japanese word and then the English translation.
Yeah, so he goes through line by line and tells you some of the keywords and what some of them mean, and some of the clues don't have hints. Some of the locations don't have hints. Like St. Augustine, he doesn't give you a hint for that. Boston, actually, the only hint for Boston is if I were to give you a hint, you would solve the puzzle.
Ooh, I would love to do Boston because that one.
Boston's super interesting. We're planning on a trip out there.
Yeah, because I only went to Boston once and I fell in love with that city. And I love the American Revolution history part. Like that part, the colonial time period and American Revolution history. I love that part of American history.
Yeah, and there's so much to see and do in Boston. We've been to New Orleans, we've been to Charleston, and we go to St. Augustine looking for those a lot. One of my friends lives in Houston. There's a treasure there. And he thought it was in like a children's zoo in a Houston park, and they were closing down the children's zoo, so he convinced the people who ran the park to let him get a bulldozer and bulldoze an entire area of this park to try to find the treasure. He had like a water main and like a huge, not like you would think going to a building, but like going to a fire hydrant. It created a lake in the middle of this park. It was crazy. He still didn't find it, but yeah.
And you mentioned earlier somebody did find one, right?
Yeah, so there's two that have been found. One was found pretty quickly in Chicago by a group of people, Eric and Rob, the two guys that found it. And then another was found by a couple of friends of mine, Andy and Brian. That was found in Cleveland. And that was in 2005. So that was the last one that was found. One was found in the 80s, one was found in 2005. That was in the Greek Cultural Gardens in Cleveland, buried in a planter.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you piqued my interest.
Yeah, Rachel keeps asking me like, "What if these aren't real?" Well, we at least found two of them.
Yeah, like that's proof of that's the proof right there. Like, all right, if two clues or two of the treasures have been found,
so yeah,
always gotta be true then.
Yeah, they're gotta be there. So yeah, I don't know. It started out as a fun little hobby, and then it sort of engulfed my life, and it takes up way too much time. And it's like last weekend, I just got a wild hair up my ass, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to Charleston at.
Hey,
3 o'clock in the morning, it's a 3-hour drive.
You want some seafood?
Well, my cousin died, right? And my cousin lives in South Carolina. This was this past weekend. And Rachel's like, well, you want to go to the funeral? I'm like, yeah, we've obviously got to go to the funeral. She's like, when's the funeral? Oh, the funeral's on Monday. We're going to leave today, Saturday, and go up. She's like, why are we leaving Saturday? Well, Charleston's on the way.
Charleston.
We'll just get a hotel in Charleston. And it's super creepy, right? So we got to Charleston, and you're a cop. Maybe you know about this. We got to Charleston, we got our hotel, and then we went to the park, right, where we thought everything was. Beforehand, I had told a bunch of people, like, hey, I'm going to go to Charleston. If anybody, I'm sort of community driven, right? Like this puzzle for a really long time, everybody just sort of argued amongst each other. They didn't really work together, right? So my goal when I got into doing the podcast and we started a bunch of Facebook groups was to show people that if you work together, you can accomplish more, right? So now we've got the like 2 or 3, 4, whatever thousand people listen to the podcast every month. We've got our Facebook group total is a couple of thousand people. That was our goal, to get people to work together, right? So I told a bunch of people like, hey, I'm going to Charleston. I'm going to go dig. If you guys want to come hang out or whatever, let me know. So we get to Charleston that night and we notice there's this weird Suzuki like Jeep. You remember when Suzuki made the weird little Jeeps? Yeah. Okay. So this weird Suzuki Jeep is sitting on the side of the park. It's got a dude in it. The dude's listening to music he obviously shouldn't be listening to. He was like you could tell he was like a redneck wearing cutoff shorts and like a cutoff jean, but he was listening to Damian Marley. Like it was really weird. And he was listening to it really loud. And he's just sitting in, so we sat and we watched him because we if we're gonna dig up a park, we'd rather be alone, right? So we were like, well, let's figure out what this dude's doing. Maybe he'll leave. And a cop drives by, and the dude flashes his hazard lights, right? As soon as the cop goes past this Jeep, the guy flashes his hazard lights. The cop just keeps going, right? And this happened every 15 minutes. Cop would drive by, dude would flash his hazard lights, cop would keep going. And Rachel's like, you're being watched. Like, there's a dude here watching to make sure you're not going to dig in this park. It's like, that's absurd. Well, it is it is illegal. But I was like, that's absurd. Nobody gives a shit about a couple of dudes or a couple of people in a park with a shovel, right? Cops have more important things to worry about. There's crime in America. So we're like, all right, it's fine. I was like, we'll walk into the park. We'll have a seat. It's a pretty park, even at night. We'll just hang out. So we walk. This guy is sitting like at the southeast edge of the park, right? And it's a big park. It takes up 3 city blocks. We walk to the very middle of the park where there's a bunch of seating, and we sit down, and the cop comes back around the dude, and this time the dude doesn't flash his lights, right? So the cop goes all the way around the park and parks on the other side of the park, directly across from the dude in the Jeep, right? And he just parks there. And this dude in the Jeep, they sat there for another 10 minutes or so, and we're just watching. The dude in the Jeep creeps up and parks directly behind us, right? So we're like, okay, this is weird. I don't know if these cops are communicating, but I don't like the fact that this dude is up. Like, we're sitting in a park in a town we're not familiar with, in the middle of the night. And whether or not this dude's communicating with the cop, it's kind of creepy that he is obviously watching us, right? So I told Rachel, I was like, what we need to do is Rachel was super nervous. She was like, these people are going to arrest us for sitting in a park at night. I was like, oh, I'm kind of creeped out that this guy's sitting behind us now. So let's walk over to the cop. There's parking benches near, or there's benches near where the cops park. I was like, let's just walk over there and sit. So we walk over there and we sat for maybe 10 minutes, and it was almost like the cop just got frustrated because all of a sudden he starts up his car, he squeals his tires, and he just pulls off and just races away, right? And the dude he passes the dude that's sitting in the Suzuki, and the dude flashes his lights. It's like super fucking weird. So we go get in our car. We're like, okay, this is obviously, they're looking for something, right? These are definitely cops, so we're not going to be able to dig. So we're like, let's go get in our car and just leave. We got in our car, and then we were followed. We were followed by some other, like, it was a purple unmarked cop car. You could tell it was an unmarked cop car because they have those rims, the black rims.
Oh, yeah.
Like bulletproof or whatever.
Or steel rims.
So you could tell it was an unmarked cop car because what it did was, while we were getting in our car, it passed us. So it passed in between us and our car. So you could get a good look at the car, and you're like, okay, this is 100% an unmarked cop car. We got in our car, and it circled the park and got behind us. So we're like, this is creepy. It drove behind us for like 3 or 4 miles, and then we were just like, I'm just going to make this turn. And I made a quick couple of turns, and he didn't follow, but it was weird. Like, I don't remember exactly where I was going with that story, but anyway. But yeah, that's kind of what, like, there's a funeral, and we're like, let's go to Charleston. Somebody died, and we're going to take this opportunity to dig in a park for buried treasure. But that's kind of what, like I was saying before, when you get an idea in your head, you just do it, and that's what makes life interesting. That's what we tend to do with stuff like that. It's like, we're sitting at home, and it's midnight, and we're bored. What do you want to do? Oh, let's drive to Key West. Okay. Let's, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. And if it sucks when we get there, we'll find something to make it interesting. As long as you have that attitude where you're just like, let's go do whatever, you can find a way to make it cool. That's kind of how I live my life. Yeah. So, we got bored one night, and, we're just like, let's go to the beach. So we're just wandering around the beach, and there's this thing on the beach. It looks like a rock, right? We're like, what is that? Most people, we're walking up by the dunes, and this rock is down by the water. And most people just keep walking, like, who cares? Like, no, let's go check out this rock. We go and check out the rock, and it's this huge, like, it's got to be like 400 or 500 pound sea turtle. It's a fully grown sea turtle that had just laid eggs. And it's, like, making its way back to the water. I got a picture of it somewhere. I'll send it to you. But yeah, like, if you don't make that leap where you're just like, let's do this. If you're not, I think you call it a yes man. Like when somebody gives you an idea, you just say, yes, let's do that.
Oh, yes man's something else, but
Well, okay. Well,
yes man's like one. It's really bad for organizations. They're the ones who like don't tell you the truth. Like if you're a boss, you have a yes man there. It's like,
yeah. So let me rephrase it. Like,
someone that encourages you or enables you.
So like improv actors are like yes and, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So somebody gives you a situation and you're like, yes and. Like, yes, let's do that and let's go farther. If you don't act like that, we would have just, that whole opportunity, we would have passed it up. We wouldn't have been able to we didn't interact with, but we wouldn't have been able to see a sea turtle like 3 feet away from us.
It's like you said that reminded me. I went to backpacking across Europe a couple of years ago. I did it by myself, and I didn't really have a plan. I'm flying to Sevilla, Spain, and I'm flying out of Rome, Italy. That's it. And the only plan I had was I had tickets to go see Moulin Rouge in Paris.
Yeah.
So I bought those ahead of time because I didn't want to
get there and be sold out.
Yeah, because I really want to see that show, which was worth it. That show was amazing. I got drunk there because they whipped the ticket. I had a bottle of champagne outside a table by myself. I was
like, just there drinking a bottle of champagne
by myself, close to the front stage, and look, beautiful show. The women were beautiful. They had guys there too, and the acts were amazing.
Yeah,
it's a great freaking burlesque show. Well, anyway, my plan was go back a couple years ago. I went to one of my good buddies' funeral, not funeral, but his mom died. And I remember we stood in this hotel called somewhere in Orlando. It looks like they built it, looked like a Italian village. And I remember walking by. This is back in college, so I think around 2007. I was looking at this painting, and it was just painting this beautiful Italian village by the coast. And I was like, man, one day I'm gonna go find that village. Like I want to travel the world and see that. So I took this trip, and one reason why I took this trip is I went through a really bad breakup with someone I thought I was going to marry, and I was really heartbroken. I left the ring. I still had the ring. I left it at the Orlando airport. So this kind of little treasure thing. I left the engagement ring on a seat at Orlando airport on a bench with a note wrapped around it saying like, hey, this was for someone I love. I hope you use it for something good. And I put my name on it, see if somebody will ever find me.
Yeah.
Just in case. I just want to see like if something actually did happen with it.
Anybody ever find you?
No. So I left, and
excuse me.
When I was in Spain, I met these freaking cool. I forgot what nationality they were. I'm gonna say one was Portuguese, the other one was Swedish. And we were at this vineyard. I'm on a vineyard tour because I love wine. And we were all sitting at a table together after the tour, having samples, eating. And they told me to go to this place in Italy called Cinque Terre, which is the 5 towns I'm butchering that Italian, but the 5 towns on the coast, on the west coast of Italy. Yeah. It's like, yeah, a lot of Americans go there. You should go there. And I never heard of that place before. I said, fine. So when I get to Italy, I'll go there. So did my couple of weeks around Spain, Paris. Then I went to Italy. I was going to spend the night at Pisa, the Lean Town, Pisa. Yes, at Pisa. And I left there because, like, okay, this place sucks. The Lean Town, that's it. Nothing else. And then, like,
and a bunch of people doing this.
Yeah.
So taking pictures looking like they're home.
Yeah, like, there's nothing here. It's not like it was like Florence. I love Florence. That was fun. That was a really beautiful city. But Pisa wasn't really worth it for me. So I left, went to this town, got a nice little hostel room.
Yeah.
Next day, what you do is you could hike across the town through the hillsides and the mountains. Or you could take the train. So I took the train to the farthest town and decided to hike to the next town. So the second town. I went to hike to the second town. And when I came across the border, I'm like, holy shit, that's the town from a couple years from the painting.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I sat there like overlooking the town, like I actually found it. This is the town. Like I found it.
Goal.
Yeah. Then I went into town, just kind of sat there and like a pussy. Yeah, I put my sunglasses on. And I started crying a little bit. Like nobody otherwise might see this, but I just sat there. It's like I accidentally found it. Oh my god! And it's like what you said. Like you take that risk, you go in the world, and you accidentally find what you're looking for.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do if you ever break up with me, by the way. I'm going to go to Italy and find a town.
Find a town. Oh, here's a random town I've been looking for. Or you go to, like, Boston. Oh, I found the treasure.
Yeah. That's what I'll do. I'll just go look for all the treasures. I will take all the money in the bank account, and I will go look for treasures.
Okay, we're going to go into the question part of our interview.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're running out of time. I'm sorry.
No, we're not running out of time. It's going.
Good.
Usually this takes like another hour or so. So that's
okay.
That's why I do it around this time frame. Just to remind anybody that's listening, who's first time listeners to the show, these are questions that are interpersonal questions. So they're kind of psychological questions. They're fun too. But the reason why I ask these questions because the different people I have on the podcast, the different viewpoints, different lives they live, not everybody's going to agree with them, and some people might just outright hate them for some reason. But I ask these questions towards the end, not only because you learn more about the person, but also just so that we all can relate to one another. Even if you disagree with a person, you can still relate to that person. So this is why I ask these questions towards the end of the interview. All right. Given the choice of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
Oh, that was in a movie. That was a question in a movie. Like if you could have dinner with two people, living, dead, real or fictional, who would it? So any time period. Oh man, that's hard. That's a really hard question. I don't know that I can answer it with a specific person. I mean, I would want it to...
Could be anything. Whatever comes to your mind.
Like, I would want to say Jesus.
Why?
Because I think that... Okay, so whether or not Jesus was real is a different argument. But if Jesus was real, it would be a life that has shaped the world more than any other. So I would just have so many questions. Like... This thing that you said led to this happening, and what happened was horrible.
But right? He didn't know about that.
But he didn't know it was going to be. So what was going through your mind when, this happened? Or I think it would lead to an interesting conversation, and it would, just because because that life shaped the world so much. I would want to know if he knew, what he was doing would cause these things to happen, and what was going on in his mind when he said or did these things, or if they even actually happened, or what, what I mean?
The thing is, most of the stuff that he says is constantly being misinterpreted or misconstrued. Yeah. Constantly. Like, people... a good example would be, trying not to get political, but Attorney General Jeff Sessions, he quoted a Bible about respecting the law, and he quoted it because he was talking about the kids and the illegal immigrants' kids. Yeah. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, bullshit.
You can't, don't quote a religious passage when you're doing something to kids like that.
Yeah, that's just picking and choosing. Like, there's more of an example of Jesus in the Bible just ditching law. Like, whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's what my answer would be. Probably somebody like Jesus or like Aristotle. I don't know. Well, probably not him because we wouldn't speak the same language. That would be a very awkward.
Well, Jesus didn't speak the same language.
That's true.
Aramaic.
But so that would answer a very good question. Are you the Son of God? Because if you're not, you won't be able to understand me.
Oh yeah, it's like that's your superpower. Yeah. Universal translation. That's one of your superpowers. Right next to like raising the dead and feeding people.
Yeah.
What war?
I'm not a big fan of this white wine. Could you do something about that, Jesus?
It'll be funny, like, you find out that Jesus just loved to party. It's like
when I said that gay people should be stoned, you took it the wrong way.
Well, like, I always thought, like, especially uptight religious people, it's like, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't do this. And I think it'll be interesting that Jesus said, like, my first miracle was making more alcohol at a party.
Yeah. And
Like,
what I hate about, like,
why would you think, like, I would be against that?
Yeah. Please, make the wine.
That was my first documented miracle. And the whole thing about marijuana, it's actually been around for thousands of years. And this is like, oh, it's not in the Bible. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not in the Bible because I think it's not a big deal back then.
Yeah.
It was, I think they use it. It's like, oh, this is a herb. It's just like as we use basil. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is basil. Do we have to write about basil? This is.
But I want to say there were drugs in the Bible, right? I don't remember off the top of my head, but there were substances other than alcohol that made you do
Well, I remember. I'm still kind of getting into some history now, but especially with psychedelics, and I think there's a lot of, not controversy, but debate that a lot of religious figures or a lot of religions use psychedelics like mushrooms, DMT. It may have helped them grow the religion or get these visions, or whatever.
I mean,
and it's like it's just part of culture. It's just recently, up to now, this has been like past 100, 150 years, I think, when it's been looked down upon. But before that, it's like, you know, you had religious experience from eating a mushroom. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So it's interesting reading about that history and like the people debating that. All right. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
Oh, man. I like, this is really hard. I don't know. I have a lot of it sounds so cheesy, but a lot of my days are already perfect. Like,
oh, that's nice.
Like I'll get Rachel and we'll get the kids together and we'll just go hang out downtown St. Augustine, or we'll go, to the movies or whatever. I think that whole attitude of doing whatever you want to do in the moment, I think that's given me a lot of really perfect days already. So, I think that's my answer. Like, just hanging out with her and with the kids and doing whatever we want.
That's nice. All right. You have a secret hunch on the way you will die.
Do I have a hunch on the way I will die?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everyone gets that same reaction. Like,
it'll probably be cancer. Yeah, I'll probably die of cancer. Everybody in my family's died of cancer, and I smoke like a chimney. It's crazy. Okay. And in fact, I'm sitting here like 2 hours, and I can't smoke. That sucks. But like, my grandmother died of lung cancer. My grandfather had cancer like 12 times. It was crazy. He just beat cancer. My grandfather was a badass. Mm-hmm. He was just like, cancer, I don't care. That's another thing.
I don't care.
I'm just going to beat it. Both my grandparents on my other side, my father's parents, they both died of cancer. So it'll probably be cancer of some sort. I mean, I'm a firefighter. I breathe weird, random chemicals. Right. And probably be cancer. Okay. Sucks, but, just make the most of your life.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like, I honestly think like this would be like, how military has the VA. I think this would be like a federal program like that for civil servants.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of programs too that firefighters trusted until 9/11.
Yeah, I remember.
And then every agency fucked over every single.
Well, I remember watching Jon Stewart when he was on the Daily Show, and he's a big supporter of like the bill just to get like money for firefighters from 9/11 to get medical help. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe like Congress was going to vote that down. I'm like, really? Yeah. You guys are going to vote that down after you're like all patriotic? Yeah,
and even like private insurance companies just dropped firefighters. It was crazy.
I don't know, like, I'm all for capitalism, but there's parts of it is where it's like, that's this really the soulless. Yeah. It's like, you know what you're doing, and it's wrong. All right, this is a fun one. If you were arrested and your family and friends were not aware of what you're arrested with or charged with, what would they assume you were arrested for?
That I was digging a hole in a random park. Dude, seriously, I can't.
Vandalism.
I can't overstate how many empty holes I dig in parks, and it's always illegal. Like in the 80s, you could stick a shovel in the ground anywhere. When this dude buried all these things, you put it anywhere. But now I'm like, on the side of City Hall in New Orleans digging a giant hole. Like, that's not cool. So if I was arrested, somebody would be like, where the hell was he at with his shovel? Digging a hole. That's going to be it. Yeah. Everybody would assume I was digging a hole.
Okay. If, oh, this is a fun one too. If you wake up tomorrow and get any power or ability, what would it be and why?
I would like to be able to see under dirt. So that
X-ray visit.
so that I no longer have to dig empty holes. If I had any power, I mean, I think that's valid. I would want some sort of X-ray vision, just because that would be super cool.
It's like useful for you.
Do you remember there was like Superman 3 or whatever, where one of the villains had a superpower where they had X-ray vision and they could see through the scratch-off part of the lottery ticket, so they could see the winning tickets. Like that, it was just X-ray vision would be super awesome. Like, pick a door. It's random. Like, no, I can see behind it. I know which one has the
that
car.
one. That one.
I want the one with the giant car behind it. So yeah, X-ray vision.
Okay. What if anything is too serious to be joked about?
Nothing. Everything should be joked about. Because if something is serious, you need a way to deal with it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And comedy is a very, very good way of dealing with things. So there is absolutely nothing you should not be able to laugh about. And it takes, it's when you're talking about stuff like death, that applies, right? But when you're talking about things like racism, I think that it points out the absurdity, right? Laughing about racism points out the absurdity in racism. And that's important. I think a lot of headway we've made when it comes to things like racism or sexism or whatever has come from people like comedians like Ellen DeGeneres or Jon Stewart or whatever, just making absolute fun of the people. Like now with the Charlottesville riots and with all the alt-righters, right? Before Trump was elected president, we took those people seriously. And now comedians are just destroying them. Yeah. And we all realize now that they're retarded.
Yeah, especially with the torches they got from Home Depot.
Yeah. The
mosquito torches.
There's this thing. Oh my god,
jackasses.
There's a subreddit on Reddit called "We Are the Master Race," right? Ooh. And all they do is post pictures of alt-righters and white supremacists and stuff, and it's these huge fat bald guys with their huge fat wives. They're just doing retarded things, and it just makes fun of this entire subculture of people. And I think that's important, right? Like, you're taking the power away from these people with using comedy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe in the same things. Like, you gotta be careful who you say it in front of, because you definitely want to make a rape joke in front of someone that's a rape victim.
No, yeah.
Like, but like you mentioned that dealing with death and stuff. There was a book I read when I was a cop a couple years ago called On Killing, and I forgot the author's name. He was a retired colonel in the army. He's a historian, I think, also a psychologist too. He wrote about what happens when you kill someone, like the history behind it, the psychology behind it, and basically anybody who has to go in a field where you may have to take a life to read this book.
Yeah,
and it really just tells something beautiful about humanity. Like, we weren't meant to kill, because it said like there's really bad like psychological effects after you take a life. But he said he brought up comedy at one chapter. He said like how you deal with death or seeing like the horrible events you have to see. And it's like there's different defense mechanisms. And said like a good example was the show Mass, that you had these doctors every day, helping out with these wounded soldiers and wounded civilians, and they're always making jokes. And he said like, and sometimes those jokes were dark, but he said like it was a safety mechanism or a self-defense mechanism, because you have to laugh.
Yep. Because
if you took that seriously, then it was going to kill you.
Yep.
Okay. What conspiracy theories do you believe in?
I don't know that I believe in any conspiracy theories. I believe that Russia hacked the U.S. election. Mm-hmm. Is that a conspiracy theory? I guess it's just fact.
We'll find out in the next couple of months.
We'll find out. I don't know that any of the others I believe in. Of course, I don't know a whole lot about conspiracy theories, but like...
Hitler.
Oh yeah, I guess there's a conspiracy theory that Hitler didn't kill himself and that he survived and lived
Argentina.
in Austria or Argentina, wherever. I mean, I think there's a little bit of validity in that, I guess. Maybe not validity, but it's possible. You know, I tend to believe things like I'm very factual, right? Like if you tell me that we didn't land on the moon, you're going to need some evidence for that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to need to be pretty freaking strong evidence because we've got rocks from the moon. Like your evidence is going to have to beat the we have moon rocks.
Well, my thing about that is like, I hate when people say that because like I feel like that's one of the biggest steps in humanity.
Yeah.
Like we went to the moon, or going to space in general is this amazing thing that we did, and we did it in a short time frame, like a really short time frame since the discovery of the airplane. I think it only took 50 years. Like okay, we're going to the moon now. And my thing is like, okay, if it didn't happen, China and Russia fucking hates the U.S. I think they want to take us down a peg by disproving that. It's like, oh, here we got digital photographs of the moon, the landing site, because it still have the vehicle there, the flags.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they'll try to find a way to actually knock us down, and they haven't done it yet. So I'm pretty sure it's true.
Yeah, conspiracy theories nowadays they irritate the shit out of me, man. Because back in the 90s or whatever, if you thought JFK was killed by the CIA or whatever, that didn't affect anybody's life, right? You could go and you yell that from the mountaintops and nobody cared. Right now, conspiracy theorists are going on about this crisis actor shit, where they're saying like Charlottesville or what was it, Newtown?
Oh, thing with Alex Jones?
Yeah. Like the new town where all the kids were killed in the elementary school. They're saying that, that didn't really happen and now all the parents are crisis actors. And like conspiracy theorists are calling these people whose kids were died or whose kids were killed, and they're like threatening them because they think they're lying to the American public. Like, come on, man. I watched I think it was a Vice documentary recently about it was a church that was shot up. I don't remember which one. And the pastor's kid died, right? The pastor's kid was shot. And these people are saying that didn't happen. These people are crisis actors. And they're literally like coming to the church and confronting this pastor whose kid was murdered, like right behind them. And he's got composure that I would never have. He's very I understand, and you're not welcome here, but please, my child.
Man, that guy's a saint.
Yeah, he's a lot of respect for that dude. I think the people ended up getting arrested for something. But anyway, like I got no respect for people like that.
No, it's like, okay, even if you have your doubts, you should keep that to yourself because there's a good chance that you're wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, before you go accusing somebody like that, you need to have proof, and you need to be able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. Right? It can't be like this David Hogg kid was on the news in Florida, but he was also on the news in LA, right? Talking about two different things. Well, people can travel,
Yeah.
And just because you travel doesn't mean you're not going to be on the news. Like, you can go to LA and something can happen and you could be interviewed by a news agency. You go out to Florida, something else happens, you could be interviewed there too, right? That's not proof, right? If you're going to accuse people of lying about their dead kids, like, you've got to have something of substance.
Yeah. Well, this is a lame example. As I'm trying to get the show more audience, like I started posting some of the shows on Reddit. And one show, I know I don't have the best voice, but also I'm not singing you a song. So, I remember reading and I stopped reading comments because of this. I'm like, no, I don't think it's healthy. Even if it's a good comment, like I'm not going to be, what's the word? Not vandalized, but I'm not going to validate myself to that.
Yeah.
But one comment by one of the episodes, I just saw the herd mentality. Like one person's like, "Oh, his voice sucks."
Yeah.
Then after that, it's like, "Well, if you said it sucks, then I'm not gonna bother listening to it." I'm like, "Whoa, so you didn't?" And there was a couple of people who did the same thing. I'm like, "So you let one person make a opinion for you and you followed it. You didn't find out for you. You didn't bother going and researching for yourself and checking out."
There's a good bit of herd mentality on Reddit. I got a really good example for that. So I was saying we've got Facebook groups, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're if you can push that aside, right? If you can push aside people who have negative comments or whatever, I feel like other people see that. And I feel like if 100 people listen to you, maybe one's going to have a negative comment and the rest won't.
Yeah.
Right? The rest will have positive or neutral or whatever. So I tend to try to stay that way. I just ignore the negative, and if somebody makes a negative comment, I'll answer them politely, right? And it sort of builds up a reputation. We have this Facebook group that's I'm not a moderator of it. Most of the Facebook groups I'm a moderator of, but this one is centered around New York, and I'm not a moderator. And the moderator on that made this huge long post about how horrible of a person I was. And she was,
oh my God, what?
It was crazy. She was going off about all of these things. And all of a sudden she was shut down. Like, she had one or two people, this thing had like 100 or something comments on it. One or two people were maybe agreeing with her, but the rest of her were just destroying her, like, about me, because they were pushing me up and saying that she was a liar and saying she was just out for attention, because my reputation for, not being a drama queen or not, feeding into that and just being respectful of people and being nice and helpful led them to,
Yeah.
So I feel like as long as you ignore that little bit of negative and you just stay positive, like you're, why you're doing what you want to do. And as long as you're positive about it and you're helpful and you interact with people, I think other people you won't have to defend yourself. Other people will defend you.
No, well, my thing is, like, I'm very self-critical, so, like, I don't want to add, like, it's not add fuel to that one.
Yeah. All right.
But, no, because you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, I want to, because sometimes for me to look for people for the podcast, like, I have an idea, like, this is how I got, for the episode I'm going to air, it's going to air after you guys leave.
Today?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
No. You guys are going to be September 1st, because I'll explain why after this. But I did an interview with a speech therapist, because I wanted to do a speech therapy or episode on speech impediments.
Yeah.
So we did that Friday. I'm going to air that today. But I found her on Reddit, which that was good. Like, I do that sometimes, which I do get people contacting me like, yeah, we'll help you out with that, or we'll point you in the right direction, or hey, I want to actually do an interview.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful. But I want a nursing board, because I want to find hospice nurse, because I thought it would be a good episode to do episode on hospice.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people really understand how that's a really tough job.
Yeah.
I kind of want to shed light on that. I had a woman call me a racist, and it's because there's an article I wrote on my website, and basically I wrote that article because I believe in free speech, and the title of the article is called "Spick Nigger Cracker Cunt: Why the Freedom of Speech is Not Being Infringed Upon." And I wrote that on purpose because I think people today are just so, once they see a bad word, they don't want to explore it.
Yeah.
And I knew people were going to do that, but I also wrote the article in a way it's like, this is the reason why I wrote these words, because I told a story in the beginning, and it was a story when I was a cop where I was like, somebody called me basically, long story short, this crazy guy was drunk, and we had handcuffed to the hospital bed. He said he's going basically quote him. He said, "I'm going to kill you, you fucking nigger." And I corrected him because the hospital staff, most of them were black, and he was talking to me. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not a nigger. I'm a fucking spick." If you're going to be racist, get it right.
Be correct about it.
But I wrote that story at the beginning of the article that I explained, like, in today's world, I'm afraid that if I would tell that story, I would be considered racist because I use spick and nigger.
Yeah.
But I use it not in racist terms. I use it in telling a story, and that's how the article is. It's like, hey, this is a difference between saying something racist and saying something like, hey, you said a bad word, but it's not, what's the context of it?
Yeah.
And well, anyway, going back, she said, she accused me of being racist. I'm not going to read your article because they had that title. I'm like, you should read the article first before you judge me. Then she had a nerve to call me sexist, and it's like, you're a sexist, you're a racist. And I'm like, I kind of just shut her down, like, all right, get over yourself. This is the reason why I wrote the article, because of people like you just misconstrue stuff. You don't look at the whole picture. You just find a bad word, one word, and label someone. And I'm not a sexist because I just did an episode with a rape victim. So how's that?
Well, I mean, I feel like And it's a horrible thing to say, but it's true that there are some people who are just victims, no matter what,
And the victim mentality.
They want to. They will point that, even if something obviously isn't racist, right? They're going to point out how it's racist, and they're going to yell or whatever. There's always going to be that people you will never be able to.
Well, a good example. This is the anniversary. I went to Burning Man last year, so this is the anniversary of it.
I went to Burning Man.
I tell everyone about this once in a lifetime, and everyone wants to go to Burning Man just to experience it. Even if you don't like that type of lifestyle, you need to experience it because it was just mind blowing. Like, oh my god, this is amazing. But one night there, I got super drunk and stoned. I hung out with these group of women who I randomly met. They were freaking nice people. And I told them, I want to go to the Thunderdome. There's a Thunderdome there. That's my goal. I want to go fight in the Thunderdome. It was so cool. It was like actual the Mad Max Thunderdome. Nice. But instead of weapons, they give you the foam sword. So you hit each other, but it's for fun. Yeah. I went to go get a closer look at the dome before I asked to be put in it to fight. I got close to this lady, and I guess I accidentally bumped into her. I wasn't trying to push her out of the way. I just bumped into her because it was crowded. Yeah. And she reminded me that those crazy feminists, stay back, get away. She was yelling that. I'm holy shit. You're crazy. I just got away from her. Not because I'm afraid of you. So you're freaking nuts.
Yeah. There's always an extreme in every group, right? Mm-hmm. And God, I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this, but I think feminism is super valid, right? There's a lot of females are definitely put on a lower peg than males in our society, no matter your color, your culture, whatever. Females are definitely treated as inferior. And I think feminism is important, and feminist activists are important. Mm-hmm. But there is that extreme, of the feminist activists that are definitely giving feminism a bad name, and instead of pushing it forward, are pulling it back.
Yeah, and I don't completely agree with feminism. I do agree to a certain extent, but also too the whole idea about the patriarchy and. There's parts of it I just don't agree with. So generally, but most of it, I do agree with it. Generally, parts of it.
Generally, when people say they don't agree with feminism, they have a bad way of explaining it, and what they mean is they agree that everyone should be equal, but they feel like feminists are trying to put females above men. Right?
Yeah.
So is that kind of how you feel that everyone should? Okay.
Well, a good example, another article I wrote was I wrote the dangers of the Me Too movement. And I do agree with the Me Too movement in the fact that I think there should be better not only protection, but I like the fact that especially rape victims and people that are sexually abused at work or that they're getting more support. I do completely agree with that. But also too the herd mentality or not the cult mentality, but the mob mentality. I kind of wrote examples there is a danger of accusing men.
Yeah.
And I wrote examples there is a danger if you go overboard with this. Yeah, and that was my thing about it. It's I agree with to a certain extent with Me Too, but also you're starting to see where they're going overboard.
So what you're saying is basically if you paint sexual harassment in too broad of a brush, it minimizes.
Well, it's dating. There's a couple examples I used, real life examples, but I read some of those feminist thing, and it's not, I said, it's not all the feminist movement. It's what you said, the extreme ones. Yeah. The whole thing about dating, it's you need to ask permission to hold hands, or you need to ask permission to kiss. I'm first of all, if I did that to a girl, two girls, they got turned off. Yeah. Any girl is going to get turned off by that. You just gotta read the signs and know when not to do it. And she says no, then back off.
Have I ever sexually harassed you? You sure? I never asked to hold your hand. Okay.
It's
just making sure. I'm sorry. You can make your Me Too post now. So yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That was a good talk, but we'll do this one. When was the first time you fell in love, and the first time you had your heart broken?
Oh man. I want to say that the first time I fell in love was with Rachel, and that's super sappy. But
Because he's right in front of you?
Is
that why?
But I can explain. I feel like love is different. It's an experience, right?
Yeah.
It's not a thing you can define. And it changes depending on who you're with, right? So you have your first girlfriend in high school or whatever, and you love that person. And that love, you learn from that love, and you experience things that you carry over into the next person that you love, and that love becomes stronger, right? So the first time you fell in love is not the same as the second time you fell in love. And I feel like over time you learn and you experience and it grows stronger. So the relationship that I am in now is so much stronger than any relationships that I've been in before. My definition of love has changed, right? So now I feel like I am in love in a different and true way as opposed to the times before. So I can honestly say that I feel like the first time I fell in love was with the person that I'm with now.
Aw. Well, like I'm sorry, while you guys were talking, my friend sent me a text message about the mass shooting.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a mass shooting?
Yeah, he was asking if I was alright, and I didn't know.
landing.
At the landing?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, 11 injured. 4
Oh,
dead.
shit.
That's what I was on my phone. So that I didn't want to interrupt you guys. And
What happened?
There's
Huh.
a shooter still on the run.
Okay,
How
I got
close
this.
are we to the
I got
landing?
this CNN. It's on CNN. No, we're far away.
Okay.
We're far away from the landing. It says multiple people were killed in a mass shooting during a video game tournament
Oh
at
my
a
God,
shopping
was it
and
the-
dining
Was
complex.
it the pizza place?
Chicago Pizza. Yeah.
4
Holy
people were
shit.
killed. Of the 11 people who were shot, 1 suspect was dead. I guess there's multiple suspects. The shooting occurred at Jacksonville Landing Complex at a qualifying event for the Madden 19 tournament at the GLHF Game Bar.
Oh my God. We go there so much.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
That's messed up. That's really messed up. Like,
How can you kill a
this is
bunch
a
of
video
video
game
games?
tournament.
It was a matter.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Yay, multiple people. But,
We've heard very nice things about you.
Oh, they're all true.
Yes, I'm sure.
that's my adopted mother.
True.
No, that's heartbreaking. Like, what's the point of, the shootings?
I don't know. Why would you kill a bunch of video game nerds?
It
Like,
was
that's...
during a Madden tournament, so I'm sure the guy got upset because he was losing.
It was during a Madden tournament?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
Well, it's still,
That's sad, man.
the news is still coming. So, yeah, my friend texted me, like, yeah, you're right. There was a mass shooting. So that's why I was looking at my phone.
That's why I was on my phone.
It's weird. I almost want to go and make sure everybody's okay, but I know you're not going to be able to get in there. But
Nah, it's going to be closed off.
There's some people stay away from the
yeah,
area.
that's so sad. Like, I'm sure they'll have a memorial soon. I don't know, man. You're not safe anywhere anymore.
Oh,
Random
there
violence
was
scares
there was a
me.
mass shooting at Jacksonville downtown Jacksonville. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, go back to what we're talking about. I had a girl a couple months ago talk about it was how she learned accounting through YouTube, was able to get like a really good job through that. She didn't have college experience, but she talked about love, and she made good points. Like, she was in different stages of her life every time she fell in love. And she realized, as she's getting, basically summarized what she said, as she got older, like there were lessons to build upon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like it's kind of hard to segue now. But I feel like
let's go back to love.
Yeah,
Well, it's
every-
actually a good segue.
Every love is different. So I guess the first time I had my heart broken, that was the second part of the question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I was in a relationship with this chick. We won't mention her because, why should we? It lasted three years. 3.5 years. We were in love. We were going to get married. We were planning on marriage anyway. And we had a kid together. Now this is my only son. I had actively not had kids, right? I didn't feel like I was with a person that I could raise a kid with, or I didn't feel like I was at a point in my life when I should have a kid. But then I felt like I was with a person that I could raise a child with, and I wasn't at a point in my life when I could have a kid. So we decided to have a kid. We did, and we named him Jason,
Yeah.
and everything was great. So shortly after Jason was born, I started noticing that the girl I was with was going out a lot. Now, she had been going out a lot before, but I just sort of, whatever. I didn't think much about it. Long story short, I found out she was cheating on me. And she had named my son after the person she was cheating on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a bitch.
So,
God, what a super bitch.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. So I think that would be the first time I had my heart broken. Like, I don't know how we toyed with changing my kid's name, but at that point he was Jason, you can't do that. So I think that was probably it.
What awful human being. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, she's still with the dude. I think they're getting married, right?
I think they're getting married.
Maybe they'll have a kid. She'll name him Justin.
Oh my God. That's horrible.
I know.
And she has some balls to do that too.
You live, you learn. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. If you're going to wake up tomorrow with no memories except for one, which one would you keep?
Oh, I went to downtown Disney once and it rained for my birthday. And I like to keep that memory. Mm-hmm. That will mean absolutely nothing to anyone except the person to my right.
Aw.
I would like that memory.
That's so wonderful. What are your deepest held beliefs?
I believe. Oh God. I believe that life is short. And there's nothing after it. And you need to make the most of what you have. That every minute is the only minute you're going to get. And that you should do you should fill that minute with everything you can.
Okay. Kind of like that. That's a good way to look at it. Is how it kind of feels sometimes. Like, well, I don't know what's afterwards, but I know what's right here.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you want to make your life the best that you can and fill it with the things that you love and fill it with the things that you enjoy. And if you're constantly, I'll do that later, putting stuff off or whatever, you're losing time.
Yeah, my thing always kind of like remind people is like, you don't know when you're going to die. You really don't. Like, you're lucky. I think it's especially when you live in America, like, even though there's bad circumstances you're in, like, you're still in a pretty good place. Like, you can actually still go after your dreams, and there's a good chance you can actually achieve them if you work hard enough.
Yeah.
But you can't just say, like, one day,
yeah.
Like, that one day is today.
I think the thing that stands in front of most people's dreams is themselves, right? Like we were saying before, like, you have an idea, go do it. But it's that fear that stops most people from achieving what they want.
Yeah. Fear could be a big inhibitor and also a big motivator too.
So, like, you wanted to do this podcast, right? Let's just call that a dream, right? Your dream was to do this podcast, but like, you have a small problem with your speech,
yeah,
right? So you could have let that stand in your way, but you didn't, right? You overcame that fear, and I'm sure that this podcast has brought a lot into your life, right? Brought a lot of joys. It's definitely made you meet interesting people. But if you had let that fear hold you back, you would have lost so much and you would have never known.
Yeah. And one thing I tell a couple people too, like, this is something that's going to get better in time. Yeah. Just like anything else, like, you just need to do it.
Yeah.
And just gotta remind yourself the first couple of times it's going to suck, because it is.
Yeah. Well,
it's it's not going to be a good product.
Yeah. But it's what I think more than what other people get out of it, it's what you get out of it. So. As long as it's fulfilling to you, who cares?
Yeah. Is there something you dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it?
I don't know. I want to buy a house. I've dreamed of owning a different house. That's not really a dream, though. I wanted to be on TV, but I was pretty much almost on TV. So that's I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like when I want to do something, I just do it. I mean, there's big, huge things. Like I would love to move. We took a trip to Curacao, right?
Where's that?
It's this little island near. Oh God, now I'm put on the spot. I don't know. It's near Haiti, right?
Yeah, near Haiti.
It's near Haiti. Anyway, it's a little Dutch island, right? Tiny, tiny Dutch island, and we fell in love with the island, and we want to live there, right? So that's a dream. Moving to Curacao. We haven't done it for multiple reasons. Number one, they don't really like Americans to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They made it very, very hard for Americans to immigrate over. You can only, for like the first 6 years, you can only spend 6 months at a time on the island, and you have to give the island like $250,000 or something. And it's like insurance money.
Oh my God.
In case you run out of money. They don't want you to be a burden on the island because the island's economy isn't very good, right?
Okay.
So you give them this insurance money where if you ever actually run out of money, they use it to send you back. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, we've made it very hard for Americans to move over there. I hear recently it's a little more lax, but, whatever.
Okay.
We haven't done that. That's a dream.
Sorry, I got lost with the questions.
Oh, that's all right, man. I would say that's what editing's for.
Yeah.
But there's no editing.
No, there's no editing. And I do that because I want people to make their own opinions. And
Yeah.
that, and like I think the whole conversation podcast is actually becoming more of the preferred method of listening.
I just burped.
I know, I heard it.
We could take that out of editing, but there's no editing.
No, that's
Whatever.
staying in.
Excuse me, guys.
I think the only time I took something out was because the mic dropped and it was like
Yeah.
a loud click. I'm like, okay, let me take that out. But it was only like a fraction of a second I took out.
No, I think it's a cool format. Like it's like Joe Rogan.
Well, that's who I kind of like got that. He was kind of like a big motivator for me.
Yeah.
I was like listening. At first, like my friend had talked me into listening to him because I had like a bad idea of who he was in my head. I'm like, oh, he's some muscle
Yeah.
muscle
he's
guy.
super smart.
Yeah.
He's got some weird ideas, but he's smart.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. But like after, I think the first episode I listened to was the Lance Armstrong one.
Yeah.
That was a good episode, and I started getting addicted to it. I'm like, man, this guy, like, even though he may have some crazy ideas, he has some really good guests, and like, it's actually good conversations.
Yeah.
I love whenever he brings a scientist on, and
There was the one that I remember was he had this guy on who was a proponent of, there was some chemical that you could take before you drank that didn't make you hungover or didn't make you feel drunk or act drunk or something.
yeah, I
like
think
that.
I remember the episode.
And he just destroyed this guy with like actual science and destroyed his whole product.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was thinking about something else.
No. It
was it that those little blue bottles thing?
I don't remember. I haven't listened to it. It's been a couple of years because I haven't listened to him in several years, probably 3 or 4. But it was that's the only episode that really sticks out in my mind as very, very like good and informative. And
Yeah.
he's prepared to say the least.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I had bias against him. Like, yeah, looks like a schmuck. Then I actually started listening. I'm like, man, this is a really good guy, and like I got a lot of good ideas. And he's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's all about like, no, find something that's worth doing to you and try and make it work.
Yeah.
Even if you gotta work a shitty job to make it work, then make it work.
Yeah.
What's the biggest sacrifice you made in your life?
I don't know. So when I lived in South Carolina, when I had my kid, and the girl that I had my kid with, I owned a bunch of crap. My grandfather had died, and he had left me his business. He did the arcade machine things or whatever. We had also had a bunch of houses. We had four. I had 4. I had sold one already. We had 4 houses, some old cars. We had a lot of stuff, right? We had some cash in the bank. And my son's mother was going to fight me for custody. But we made this sort of agreement where if we sold all of this stuff and gave her just a shit ton of money, I could have full custody. So that's what we did. And now I have full custody of my kid, and she's got all the money. And
What a shitty mother. Oh my god. What a she
Well-
basically sold her son.
yeah, but
I mean, like,
it worked out well for
it's
me.
like you're the father, but if you look at it that way, like, She sold her son.
Yeah. But like I said, it worked out well for me. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That you're like, all right.
now I got full custody. I was able to at least pay for a good lawyer who locked that agreement down.
Nope, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, there's no way you can contest that piece of paper. Like most custody agreements, it's weird. Most custody agreements are like 30 pages long or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They list out very detailed very detailed circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's 2 pages.
Nope,
It is
mine.
2 pages long. So it's great. Yeah, so I guess that's the biggest sacrifice. But I don't look at it as a sacrifice because I gained a lot more than I lost.
Yeah, it's like the house and the money could be replaced.
Yeah.
Easily be replaced. Like your son's more important.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the last question. I ask this one to everyone. What is the worst thing you ever done in your life, and what is the best thing you ever done in your life? So it's a 2-part question.
There's this kid named Kenny that I went to high school with, and he was super gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was a nice kid. We used to hang out. We considered each other friends. But I used to make fun of him. Oh, it was horrible. Like I used to all the shit that you think bullies do in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I did to that kid.
Oh.
And he killed himself. He's still alive. He's a vet tech now.
Oh, cool.
And we've made up. I've apologized.
Good. Yeah, good.
Kenny. Yeah. But that's a period of my life that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
So I think growing up, I was given a lot of shit because I was kind of a weird kid, and I went to these weird religious schools, and these weird religious schools, there weren't a lot of students. Like these schools I would go to, maybe 30 kids, and they would range in age from kindergarten to high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't always kids my age. So I never really knew how to interact with people, right? I didn't get those social skills that you get in middle school, elementary school, whatever. And I was picked on a lot because there's a lot of high schoolers sitting in the same class with me, the 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously going to pick on me. So I learned more about bullying than I did about compassion or friendship or whatever. And in high school, I went into public school.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any of those skills. The skill that I had was, I know how to make you feel like shit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I did. I picked like 3 or 4 people, and I just made them feel like shit for no reason whatsoever. They didn't do anything wrong. That's probably the worst thing. Like I said, it's a period of my life that I'm not proud of, and I've spent a really long time trying to make that up to people, like actively trying to seek people out and say, I did this to you, and you did nothing to deserve it. I was just a shitty person, right? And I'm sorry, and I haven't forgotten it, and it's affected my life, and it's changed, the kind of person I want to be. So yeah, that's definitely the shittiest. The best. What's the best thing that I've ever done?
That lawyer.
My lawyer was
that lawyer.
I think. I answered a text message once that was pretty good. I was at the beach and somebody texted me asking me to go to a bar. That was pretty awesome.
That was a text message.
Yeah, that's another thing that doesn't mean much to people. Let me think for a second. The best thing I've ever done. No, I think that's it. I think the best thing I've ever done was, I hung out. As soon as I moved down here, after I basically bought my kid, my parents have a beach house, and I was living in my beach house, in my parents' beach house, for a few weeks while I got everything arranged to figure out where I was going to stay and find a job and all that other crap. And I had no money. I had like $15, right? I'd given all of my money to my ex. I had $15, and I had some rent money coming in because I rented a couple of houses while they sold. So I was able to live off that. But at the current time, I had like $15, and I was driving like a truck that got like 12 miles to the gallon. And I got a text message. I'd probably only been here like 4 days. You have to understand. And I got a text message from Rachel, And it was the first time we'd ever really actually talked. She was involved with a friend of mine at the time. Not a great friend, but a friend. And I got a text message from her. She was like, "Hey, I'm going out to a bar with a bunch of friends. You got nothing to do. Come along."
You don't have a life.
So, and I don't want you to think that like it wasn't what you're thinking. You know, it was totally come and hang out. Right. So don't think badly about her.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
But that kind of evolved into she was in a very shitty relationship. The guy was treating her like shit, and they weren't friends, and we became friends, and that friendship blossomed into what we have now. So I think that was the best thing I've ever done, answering that text message, just being like, because I remember sitting on the bed going, I got like $15. I can't do anything, right? Like I can barely buy gas. She wanted me to go to a bar that was probably 45 minutes away. And I got like $15 and I got a quarter of a tank of gas. Like, I don't even know if I can get back. I was like, well, fuck it. Let's go. So I did.
And it's a good thing that you answered that, because I was going to ask one more question, like, how did you guys meet? But
okay, so
answer that. Yeah, that's it.
I answered a text message at a bar.
The best thing you ever done.
Stole her away from her shitty relationship.
And you got something out of it too.
Yeah.
A better life.
I don't know if I would consider it better. You got a better life now? Okay. All right, good.
All right. I want to thank you guys for coming by. Thank you, Rachel, for reaching out to me. Rachel was the one that emailed me on Friday. It's like, hey, my fiance. He's a cool guy to interview.
Yeah, I thank you for having us. I hope,
I
hope it was worth it.
No, I loved it. I really loved this episode.
Good.
We were talking earlier. I don't want to talk badly about one of the episodes I did, but I was talking to one of my friends about it today, and like I thought it was like I wasn't really happy with the episode. It was because the person didn't really have anything interesting to say.
Yeah.
But like people like you, like everyone else except for that one episode was so easy to do, because people were willing to talk about themselves. They had stories to tell, and you were just like one of the easiest, because
thank you.
You just talk. It's like you actually have interesting stuff to say.
Thank you.
You have an interesting life, so that's what I try to look for in people. But yeah, this is just a fun episode. I really loved this one.
Good.
Before we sign off, won't you plug in your website?
So I got now. No, I'm not giving everybody my DeviantArt or my Reddit account.
Yeah,
if you want to find my art, you're going to have to work for it.
You should sell that stuff.
Yeah, so we got a website, a podcast, whatever. The website address for the podcast is 12treasures.com. It doesn't matter if you spell it out or you just use the numbers. They both point to the same place. 12treasures.com. There's a subreddit, 12 Keys. The podcast is The Secret Podcast. It's pretty easy to find if you go to that website. And you can look us up on Facebook. Just look for The Secret of Byron Price. There's probably 20 Facebook groups, and I am a moderator of most of them. So if you want to talk or ask questions, or you're interested or whatever, I'm pretty easy to find.
And for you guys listening, or if you haven't read it in the description yet, by the time you listen to this podcast, I will put his the Secret Podcast and the website for the website, the web address for the website in the description, so that way you guys can just copy, paste, or click it.
Thank you.
Thank you again for doing this, and just to sign off, remember guys, check out my website, ataboolife.com, where there's one of the articles we just talked about is on there. All of it's free. We have books on there, other episodes, short stories, articles. All of it's free on the website, ataboolife.com. And if you think you know someone, or you are someone that has an interesting story to tell, or you live a certain taboo life, like the swingers, I'm down for listening to you. If you're in Jacksonville, or anywhere near Jacksonville, that could be like a little day trip for me, because I love to travel. Email me at ataboolife@gmail.com. And that's also on the website too, on the About page, in case you missed that. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next week.
Cool.